of the Zoutgrembe won't be alone this winter and are inviting you to join them in their extraordinary setting. All cozy and warm in their lairs, or in the snow for those who don't mind the cold. While, for the very first time, our rhinoceroses and lions will also take part in the season events. Come experience moments you won't soon forget in our fun and friendly winter village.
Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens have achieved the impossible, bringing back dinosaurs. Hurry in for all new dinos, larger-than-life experiences, and roaring surprises before history calls them home once more. Dinosauria, presented by Sonny's Barbecue.
We're ready.
This is not the spring anyone was expecting, but for Denver Zoo's 3,000 residents, life seems just as sweet as ever. Yori doesn't know this is our longest closure in 124 years. Dobby doesn't know it costs $115,000 per day to keep our animals healthy and happy. That's because our team is still providing world-class animal care. Every day, our support system needs your support. Donate or become a member today. 3,000 animals and counting are counting on us.
Deep in the heart of the African savannah, the mighty lion stalks his prey. Watch as he effortlessly blends into his environment, seen by no one. I can see you, Kevin! The lowly scorpion sees nothing as the alpha male readies himself for attack. You're behind the coral. I can see your fins. No, you can't. Yes, I can. I'm invisible. You're ridiculous. An adult lion's roar can be heard from up to 8 kilometers away. You're not a lion, Kevin!
Imagine the friends you'll make when you bring your pack to meet ours here at Woodland Park Zoo. Kima, the inventor. You see a tree, he sees a back scratcher. Kamaria, the detective, always curious about new friends. Nayla, the connoisseur. That look just means she's happy to see you. Doba, the alpha. Sometimes even pack leaders need a nap. Visit today
at Woodland Park Zoo.
Call upon me day or night. You'll be safe by my side. It's gonna be alright. I'm here for
Live in the current at the Florida Aquarium.
Please welcome the director of the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, Dr. Chris Kuhar.
Good morning, everyone. It's always hard to follow the pizzazz reel. Great contributions from everyone as usual. Every year, we pause at our annual conference to remember our colleagues who are no longer with us. This year will be no different. Please join me in honoring and remembering members of our community who have passed away since we last convened last year in New Orleans. Each year, by a formal resolution of respect, we recognize friends who are no longer with us here, but are with us in spirit. So this morning, be it therefore resolved that the members of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums tender their most sincere sympathies to the families of Larry Breitenstein, Amy Camacho, Patrick Chambers, Lamar Farnsworth, Margaretha Hoffmeyer, Matthew Cornyn, Barbara Lambert, Danny Morris, Chad Peeling, Dr. Peter Pritchard, Alan Rost, Lane Ragsdale, Dr. David Wilt, Mary Wilson. Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to present the Animal Program Leader Recognition Awards for 20 or more years of service. These individuals have dedicated countless hours of time and service to the success of their animal programs. Please join me in recognizing the following. For 35 years of service, Mark Warnicki and Frederick Beal. For 30 years of service, Mark Myers. For 25 years of service, Thomas Schneider, Dr. Andrew Baker, and Stephen Sorrow. For 20 years of service, John Azua, Mary Jo Willis, Jessica Joswiak, Jill Piltz, David Bernier, Jay Tetzloff, Tandora Grant, David Hamilton, and Dr. Kent Vliet. And now for the AZA Outstanding Service Awards for 2020. Now, to be honest, after the year we had, I thought maybe we should all receive an award this year, but I figured it would take way too long to read through all those names, and I'm not very good at pronunciation. So instead, please join me in recognizing these individuals, including the retiring committee chairs and others who have made exceptional contributions to our collective goals during the past year. First, the retiring committee members are Lace Garland, Kate Hilliard, Andy Kornack, Allison Price, John Walzak, and Andy Wood. Next, for his work with the Conservation Education Committee to encourage the bringing together of conservation education and engagement with conservation biology with in situ projects, James Danoff Berg. Next, for his 6 years of outstanding service on the Animal Population Management Committee, Jack Jewell. And for stepping up to provide support to saving animals from extinction while he was serving on the Wildlife Conservation Committee, Matt Seguin. I also want to recognize the following individuals for their leadership on AZA's Conservation Culture Task Force. Dr. Jackie Ogden, Dr. Wei Ying Wang, Dr. Haley Murphy, Doug Peacosh, Laura Martina, Vicky Searles, Dr. Joy Kubarik, and Renee Bumpus. The following individuals should be awarded for their extraordinary service as inspectors for AZA. As you all know, the accreditation process is extremely important to what we do. Peter Bervenich, Joe Flanagan, Jessica Hoffman-Balder, Dwight Lawson, Luis Padilla, Chris Pfefferkorn, Mike Quick, and Chuck Wickenhauser. And for his extraordinary service as an inspector and for participating in 60 accreditation inspectors. That's 60 accreditation inspections. What an amazing accomplishment. Thank you, Dr. Jeff Wyatt. Congratulations all, and thank you for your service to the association and the zoo and aquarium community. It's because of people like you that we make progress on important projects and programs. Now, although the AZA Accreditation Commission has not met in person since 2019, the March 2020 hearings were held virtually. I want to formally welcome our newest AZA accredited member organizations, Atlantis, the Palm in Dubai, and the Honolulu Zoo. And congratulations to those who earned a continuation of their accreditation for another cycle. The Abilene Zoo, Arizona Sonora Desert Museum, Caldwell Zoo, Discovery Cove, Disney's Animal Kingdom, Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens, Landry's Downtown Aquarium Denver, Landry's Downtown Aquarium Houston, the Mystic Aquarium, San Diego Zoo, San Diego Zoo Safari Park, the Santa Barbara Zoo, SeaWorld Orlando, SeaWorld San Diego, the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, Virginia Living Museum, Zoo Atlanta, Zoo Knoxville, Zoo Miami, Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park, and continuing certification for another cycle, the Luby Bat Conservancy. Congratulations to all of you. And as you all know, achieving AZA accreditation is no easy task. The Quarter Century Award highlights those organizations who had achieved accreditation continuously since 1995. So congratulations to those organizations that have done that this year, including the Cameron Park Zoo, Chohinkapa Zoo, Sequoia Park Zoo, Texas State Aquarium, and Zoo America North American Wildlife Park. Congratulations on this outstanding achievement. Thank you all for your outstanding efforts and your dedication to the community. Next, I'm going to turn the program over to the chair of the Honors and Awards Committee. Please welcome the Vice President of Planning and Design and the Chief Architect for the Wildlife Conservation Society, Sue Chin.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, there is something to celebrate right now. It's the great work that happens at our zoos and aquariums every day, and especially in these tough times. I'm happy to be here to represent the Honors and Awards Committee, which consists of 18 individuals from diverse areas in our profession who work tirelessly with other AZA committees to review and judge the many submissions we receive every year. This year, we received a total of 37 applications in 10 categories, including a new research award. First, the SSP Award, typically presented at the mid-year conference. The 2020 recipients are the African Penguin SSP and the Blue-Crowned Laughing Thrush SSP. Congratulations to both programs. The applications and guidelines for the 2021 awards are on the AZA website now and are due on December 18th, 2020. Now onto this year's awards. We have asked the top award winner in each category to provide an acceptance video. The first award recognizes the enormous value of volunteers to all AZA members. There are over 203,000 volunteers at AZA facilities who have contributed almost 9.2 million hours of service to our aquariums and zoos. That represents an in-kind value of $251 million of service to AZA institutions. First, a significant achievement award goes to the Bermuda Aquarium, Museum, and Zoo, Bermuda Zoological Society, for Trunk Island Living Classroom. This program has done a great deal to transform Trunk Island into an amazing outdoor educational space, and the conservation work being done by the volunteers is commendable. A top honors award in volunteer engagement goes to Ocean Park Hong Kong for the Ocean Park Golden Age Volunteer Program. Unlike other programs, there is a very strong focus on the impact of the program on the volunteers themselves, their overall health and well-being, as well as their change in attitude and knowledge as a result of participating in the program. While recruiting retirees to become volunteers is not new to most of us, this is a culturally significant achievement in Hong Kong. Top honors also goes to Woodland Park Zoo for their volunteer inclusion program. The zoo has a strong commitment to accessibility throughout the organization. They took extra care to integrate volunteers with special needs and remove or minimize barriers on all levels, from recruitment to training and implementation. Volunteers with specific ability challenges work alongside other volunteers and staff and participate in a monthly inclusion review panel and focus groups. The judges felt that the program could stand as an excellent model for other zoos and aquariums.
I pretend to be anyone. I feel proud of myself. I touch an animal's fur. I worried that many animals will go extinct. I cry sometimes when I am miserable. I am a zoo ambassador who works at the zoo.
The Green Award recognizes the significant efforts that have been made at AZA member institutions to put our conservation mission into action as a model for our profession and our communities. This year, a significant achievement award goes to the Houston Zoo. There are clear institutional sustainability goals with strong executive level support and policies in place to ensure those goals are being met. A robust conservation and sustainability culture engages all levels of staff in every department, including the 24 staff that have been LEED accredited.
Hi, this is Erin Donato, Sustainability Manager at the Houston Zoo. We are so honored to receive the Significant Achievement Green Award, and I'm joined here with three of our people that have made this possible: Florence, Dave, and Robert, who are all LEED accredited employees here at the zoo. Our fearless leader, Cheryl, and also we have a whole team behind us: conservation education, our partners at SSA. Without all of you, this would not be possible. Thank you so much for the honor.
Next is the Andrew Liff Peterson Excellence in Diversity Award. This award recognizes the most significant, innovative, productive, far-reaching programs to promote diversity in institutions throughout AZA. Special recognition goes to Brevard Zoo's Family Nature Club. Family Nature Club provides accessible nature play opportunities by removing barriers and offers the chance for all families to enjoy exploring the outdoors safely. A Significant Achievement Award goes to Woodland Park Zoo's Volunteer Inclusion Program. This program has a broad impact across the organization for both volunteers and staff, creating a welcoming environment for volunteers with disabilities to thrive in their roles at the zoo. Clearly, this is an outstanding program as it has been recognized in both volunteer engagement and diversity award categories. Congratulations again. Our next category is excellence in marketing. As you know, this category is split into two campaign levels. First, for campaign budgets less than $175,000. A Significant Achievement Award goes to Audubon Zoo for Lions, The Roar Returns. In the spring of 2019, the Audubon Zoo launched an integrated effort to celebrate the opening of its new lion habitat. But the campaign did so much more. By tapping into New Orleans city pride and the opening of Disney's movie, The Lion King, the campaign motivated people to get involved not only with the exhibit, but with lion conservation as well. Next, for campaign budgets more than $175,000. A Significant Achievement Award goes to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo for Reconnect with Nature. The Reconnect with Nature branding campaign helped to marry two focuses for Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, encouraging guests to spend quality time with loved ones outside, while also raising awareness that visits to the zoo help save animals in the wild. It provided a reminder that Cheyenne Mountain Zoo isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. The next category is education. For institutions with an operating budget of less than $8 million, top honors goes to Racine Zoo AmeriCorps program, RZAP. This innovative program helps demystify how facilities can make use of resources like AmeriCorps to enhance program offerings. The field experience is a powerful way to guide students in making authentic connections with local conservation.
Hi, my name is Beth Heidorn, the Executive Director here at the Racine Zoo, and we are beyond thrilled to know that we received top honors for the AZA 2020 Education Award.
The Racine Zoo AmeriCorps program started as a small idea that turned into such an incredible program, and it has been such an honor to reach the students that we have with the program, and we are so excited to be receiving this award today.
Thank you.
Next, for institutions with an operating budget of more than $8 million. An innovation award goes to Philadelphia Zoo, Unless Contest. This innovative program provides an approach for zoos to facilitate engagement of large numbers of students with student-driven learning and with conservation outcomes. A recognition for community engagement goes to Chicago Zoological Society, King Conservation Leadership Academy. CZS actively engaged the community in development and implementation, continuing to adjust program elements based on community feedback and employing the use of a community advisory council to advise on even granular details. A Significant Achievement Award goes to the Maritime Aquarium at Norwalk for sound resilience. This exciting hands-on program shows students the impact of climate change on their own communities, getting them out of their schools and into the field like real biologists and conservationists. The program has found a great way to engage middle and high school students in relevant and visible climate science. And top honors goes to Minnesota Zoological Garden for Zoo's STEM Design Challenge. This incredible program supports teachers and students through a unique approach to engaging students in STEM by using design thinking to create animal enrichment and exhibit design projects. Requests for training from other zoos to run similar programs proves it's having an impact. As a result of the COVID pandemic, a variety of new standards-based distance learning resources were immediately developed to support teachers as they transition to a virtual classroom.
The Zoom STEM Design Challenge is the opportunity for students grades 3rd through 8th to participate in solving real-life challenges at the Minnesota Zoo. That includes projects related to exhibit design and to enrichment.
I feel like it definitely opened my mind up to
We're trying to get kids to learn how do we take the world we have and make it better for tomorrow. And that's what we're really hoping to inspire all of our kids to do, which this project does very nicely.
This year, in collaboration, the Honors and Awards and Research and Technology Committees created the Research Award, which recognizes exceptional efforts by AZA-accredited, related facility, or conservation partner members to advance the body of scientific knowledge as it relates to providing excellent welfare for the animals in our care, understanding biological principles, advancing field conservation efforts, and maximizing our impact on visitors. In our inaugural year, we had 5 submissions. A significant achievement award goes to the Urban Wildlife Information Network. Led by Lincoln Park Zoo, the Urban Wildlife Information Network is a first-of-its-kind research collaborative focused on uncovering the ecological processes that shape life in cities for people and animals alike. This network consists of urban ecologists from zoos, academia, and beyond who collect data using identical methods to understand the broad patterns in how wildlife adapt to cities and how wildlife and humans can better coexist on an urban planet. Another significant achievement goes to testing with touchscreens, studying primate cognition and welfare, and facilitating public engagement with research in a zoo setting. For more than 15 years, Lincoln Park Zoo's Lester E. Fisher Center for the Study and Conservation of Apes has administered an innovative cognitive research program in which chimpanzees, gorillas, and macaques voluntarily engage with touchscreen computers. The program exemplifies the tremendous potential and impact that innovative zoo-based research can have. The research program has been a cornerstone of the zoo's commitment to science, welfare, and education, and has been integrated into everything from facility designs to educational interpretive programs. Top honors in research is awarded to the Great Ape Heart Project based at Zoo Atlanta. This project supports and coordinates a network of more than 20 medical, veterinary, research, and zoo professionals to improve the health and welfare of great apes across dozens of AZA and international institutions. Overall, this project provides a roadmap for sustainable and cross-institutional research collaboration to address health needs of great apes within our care, and is serving as a model for subsequent multi-institutional networks to address health needs in zoological settings.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. On behalf of myself, the Great Ape Heart Project in Zoo Atlanta, we're thrilled to receive this award.
This award is a reflection of each and every institution that participates in the Great Ape Heart Project. Thank you for your support and effort over the years. We'd also like to thank our funding agency, IMLS, and every one of the executive committee team members who've made this possible. Thank you.
It takes a troop to solve a problem.
In the Edward H. Bean category, an innovation award goes to the Clouded Leopard Consortium for the combination of a robust in situ partnership, capacity building, and the development of husbandry and propagation practices which have established the clouded leopard population in zoos. The Clouded Leopard Consortium includes the Smithsonian National Zoological Park and Conservation Biology Institute, Nashville Zoo, Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, the Clouded Leopard SSP, and the Zoological Parks of Organization of Thailand. Congratulations to all. Next, the William G. Conway International Conservation Award. First, a significant achievement award goes to the North Carolina Zoo, and WCS for the Southern Tanzania Vulture Monitoring and Conservation Project. This program addresses large-scale poisoning events of vultures using a novel real-time carcass detection system. It is an amazing example of ecosystem-based conservation of one species that can lead to benefits for other animals and people of the region. It has reduced incidental deaths of lions and elephants and has led to legal action against poachers and reduced poisoning events across the Ruaha-Katavi landscape to zero. Top honors in international conservation goes to Disney's Animal Kingdom for Proyecto TT, a multidisciplinary on-site conservation program that combines field research, educational initiatives, and community programs to make the conservation of natural resources economically feasible for local communities in Colombia. The program is designed to provide useful information to assist in the long-term preservation of the cotton-top tamarin and to develop local community advocates to promote conservation efforts in Colombia. With 35 years of collaborative conservation working to improve communities and to protect one of the rarest primates on Earth, Proyecto TT is truly in a class by itself.
Proyecto TT rocks! Viva Colombia y los titis cabezas y blanco!
Thanks to you, everybody loves cotton top.
Congratulations to the amazing Proyecto TT. We're very proud of you.
Viva Proyecto TT! Congratulations!
Congratulations, Proyecto TT! Houston loves you!
Congratulations, Proyecto TT!
Some of the greatest conservations to science in the 20th century came from cotton-top tamarins. So it's great to see cotton-tops finally getting their recognition they deserve. Congratulations, cotton-tops.
Congratulations, Proyecto TT!
Felicidades, Proyecto TT! Viva Colombia y los titis cabeza blanca!
Viva Proyecto TT!
And finally, the exhibit awards. We had 9 applications this year, 6 from institutional operating budgets over $8 million and 3 from under $8 million. In the over $8 million operating budget category, an innovation award goes to the Jacksonville Zoo for African Forest. The idea of wellness design permeates throughout the animal keeper and visitor experience, from the comprehensive research program on the effective renovation on individual animals, to the complex trail system and the integration of enrichment into the visitor experience at the Kapok tree. Top honors in this category goes to Walkabout Australia at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. The right balance between landscape and high-quality theming creates a seamless immersion experience that features 9 SSP species, showcases sustainable practices, and makes a relevant visitor connection to the impacts of climate change on California and Australia. Walkabout Australia hits on all of the elements of a successful exhibit: beauty, careful thought about animal welfare and husbandry, relevant conservation messaging, and visitor experience. Plus, there's a platypus.
On behalf of the team at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, we would like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Thank you!
Thank you.
Thank you! Merci beaucoup!
Thank you.
We are truly honored by your recognition.
Can't wait to see that exhibit. Top honors also goes to Nashville Zoo for Tiger Crossroads. Aesthetically, a high-quality experience from the architecture to, most importantly, the tiger habitat. The interpretive program and graphics were well thought out and successful on delivering on how human choices impact tigers, how people can help tigers, and raising awareness of tiger-safe products. Kudos to the entire zoo staff for participating in its creation. It's hard to believe that this exhibit only cost $6.4 million. Back Back-to-back recognitions with Andy and Bear last year continue to set a high bar for all of Nashville Zoo's future development.
Adding a Sumatran tiger exhibit allowed us to conserve one of the rarest tiger species in the world and recreate Sumatra's elaborate architectural style. This is by far the most ornate and intricately detailed project in the zoo's history. Special thanks to the Nashville Zoo staff who worked so hard on this exhibit. Tiger Crossroads would not have been possible without your passion and commitment.
It's an understatement to say it's been a tough year, but it is rewarding to celebrate the incredible work that we do at our institutions. Thanks for finding the time to submit your work, and thanks to all of the judges for their time spent reviewing the applications. Congratulations to all of the recipients.
Thank you, Chris and Sue, and our many winners recognized today. As I noted during my opening remarks on Monday, Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence is not an act, but a habit. And all of these awardees today have earned our appreciation and admiration for their commitment to excellence and achievement. Very, very well done. And thank you, Sue and Chris, for helping us celebrate their accomplishments. All of our awardees will receive awards in the mail in the coming week. So this concludes today's general session. Next on the agenda, please join us for roundtable chats beginning at 12:15 p.m. Eastern, and then back at 2 p.m. Eastern for a number of concurrent sessions. We'll have more time to visit with one another during the social hour at 3:30 p.m. and then another exciting buzz event beginning at 5:15 p.m. Who said that virtual had to be boring? See you all then. Thanks a lot.
This session, so anybody has any questions technical wise, feel free to hit me up either in chat or call out my name during the event. I'll be muted and have my
Welcome everybody.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm Ashley Mobley, Director of Marketing and Events for the Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation. Welcome to the roundtable. All right, already have 22. All right, we'll give everybody another minute or two. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey folks, just before I hand this session over to your group, I just want to throw out there that we do have polling questions that have been added. If you need me to launch those polling questions, then feel free to just give me a verbal cue. Otherwise, whoever would like to be the moderator or co-host for this meeting, I can promote you to co-host so that you'd be able to launch those polls.
Corey, if you don't mind launching the poll questions, they can answer all 3 questions at one time. If we just launch it once, they can answer the 3 questions. Or do they ask them one by one?
It'll be one by one for this one, just the way that they've been entered. So since we're already going right now, I can just launch these, and then once we get the results, I can share the results and then launch the next one. So not a big deal. If you want to do all of those up front, just go ahead and give me the verbal cue, and I will launch that. And then we'll do the second and third, and then you can take over for your meeting.
That sounds good. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes, and then we'll get going on that, okay? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm going to cut off my video and audio, but rest assured I'm still here. So once you give me the prompt, I'll launch those polls.
Okay, thank you so much, Corey. All right, it looks like we got a couple more people joining us, so we'll get the poll questions up in just a moment. To start off, I guess we could do a little bit of housekeeping. It's going to be quite a large group, it looks like, which is very exciting, so we can all have a lot to learn today. This is definitely a discussion-oriented conversation, so either raise your hand or unmute yourself. If you'd like to chat, just hold your hand up and we'll get over to you. I have put in a couple of poll questions to get started. Let's see. And since it is such a large group, how about you introduce yourself before you speak instead of going through the whole entire room? I have 3 or 4 things. Look, I'd like everybody to know your name, institution, your title, and if you have a best animal friend at your zoo or aquarium, what is their species and their name? So I'll go ahead and get that started off. My name's Ashley Mobley. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events for the Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation in Eureka, California. We are among the Redwood Forest. So we've definitely been dealing with a lot of wildfires, and my heart goes out to everybody experiencing any one of these things right now. So thank you so much for being here together. And my best animal friend at the zoo is named Candy, the spider monkey. So I love to go chat with her, and she definitely has her own little language, and I look forward to hearing what kind of animal friends you guys have at your zoo too. All right, Corey, looks like we have almost 60 people in the room, so let's go ahead and start those 3 poll questions. I'm just trying to see what kind of experience everybody has in the room and what you're interested in. So the first question is, how much experience do you have with virtual events or virtual fundraising? And I believe you can click more than one choice if you'd like. Okay, thank you all. Got a few more people joining us, which is great. All right, Corey, is the second question going to pop up, or are we going to see the results first? Oh, looks like we have some results. Let's see here. All right. Well, it looks like we have a mixed set of experience in the room, which is wonderful. I'm sure we all have success stories or not so successful ideas too that might be able to share. I'm just going to take a picture of these results so that I can refer back to them. Okay, so let's see here. Well, with the results, it looks like there's about 18% of people in the room that are interested and want to get some ideas today. Looks like about half of us have actually hosted a live event or a live virtual event, which is wonderful. I can't wait to hear about those experiences. There's some pre-recorded video footage. About half of us have done Facebook Live type video features. Roughly 30% have done an online auction. And wow, about 16% have done a 5K run or a virtual run. I'm very interested in hearing about those. And we have a bunch of people with new revenue streams and cameos. So let's see if Corey can set the second question. That would be fantastic. All right, what would you like to learn today? And we'll focus some of the conversation in those areas. All right, and that says, let's see here. All right, thank you guys so much for participating. Wow, we got 79 people now. Wonderful. Welcome everybody who's just joined us. We are currently taking a couple of poll questions to see where what everyone's interested in. Okay, so hopefully everyone's wrapping up question 2, and I promise the third one is very quick. All right, we have some results. Snap a couple pictures real quick so I can refer back. Okay, so it is looking like new fundraising ideas is a hot topic. Of course, that is the question of the hour, how to generate revenue outside of the gate. Half of us would like to know about taking an already existing event, one of our classic type events, and creating digital aspects of it. That's an interesting way to kind of meld the two ideas. And half of us are wondering about the different components of the virtual events and the different types. And another half want to know about engaging and connecting with a wider audience, which is exactly what your virtual events are going to do. So, all right, so it looks like we're interested all across the board here. So I'm going to take us through some guided conversation, and hopefully you guys have lots of stories to share. We have 1/3 poll question that's just about your institution size. I'm curious how many of us are from a much larger institution and how many are a little bit smaller. So for this, I'm using the benchmark of the marketing award, the Marketing Excellence Award categories, which there is another roundtable tomorrow on how to successfully fill out a Marketing Excellence Award application. And anyway, so let's select our institution size. Marketing campaigns greater than 175,000 for one campaign or less than. All right, it'll be interesting to see the dynamics here. All right, give everyone a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds to wrap up. We have 86 people in the room. Welcome everybody who has just joined. All right, hopefully we get the poll results momentarily. Okay, wow. We have about 25% large institutions and about 75% small. And I myself do come from what would be considered a small institution. So I'm right there with you guys, and we're all trying to fundraise and generate new ideas and bring things to our zoo or our aquarium and our institution and succeed in this trying time. So let's see here. I guess I'll just start the conversation off with mentioning that I have executed 2 virtual events or fundraisers, and I have 2 in the works. So I'm kind of working on completing about 4 virtual fundraisers and events during this COVID-19 shutdown period time. And I noticed that not a single one of them is similar to the other one. So each virtual event is its own thing. And I would like you just to recognize that you can be creative and that the sky is the limit. If you can dream it, you can do it. And sometimes I have to consult with my executive director and tell her all of my creative ideas, and then she helps me bring them into reality. But for the most part, any idea that we've ever thought of, we've figured out how to do in some way, shape, or form. So I really encourage you to just try new things. We don't know what's going to work. And when you do see something work, you can do a little bit more of it and keep repeating those results. So let's see, when it comes to how to host the virtual events and the different types, that's one of the first things you need to decide is what style of virtual event are you going after? And then you can work the parameters after that. My 4 different events, the first one was a Circle of 100 type campaign where you set a dollar amount that you're trying to raise, divide that by 100 different individuals to come up with the amount of money per person that you'd like to bring in. You have to do a realistic amount for your market and then try to achieve that. So we did a Redwood Skywalk 100. We are fortunate at my zoo to have a new exhibit opening up within the next probably around 2021, I guess is the new year. 2020 has blown by. So we're fortunate in that respect. I know that not everybody has a brand new exhibit to open up, but you could think of something that your market identifies with and how you could get 100 of your super supporters to buy into this idea and support your cause, and then try something like that. We also did Zootini as a virtual event. 14 years running, we've had a gala type event on grounds at our zoo. We can get into that a little bit deeper conversation later on the agenda. But the biggest advantage I noticed taking Zootini digitally was that we could expand our audience from about 320 individuals on grounds to over 20,000 people within 24 hours. And we are a tiny zoo. So to get your message across to get it across the world, essentially, I started receiving emails from all different countries. I know we have at least 17 different countries represented at this AZA conference alone. That also reminds me to mention to utilize each other's experience and expertise. I would say about a half-hour conversation with any one of these individuals in this room will do wonders for your project. Kate is our current chair or outgoing chair of the marketing committee currently. And she connected me with her Beastly Ball team. They took their Beastly Ball virtual, and they were probably one of the very first virtual events in the COVID-19 closure time period. It was early on in the spring. So I watched that on YouTube a number of times. I recommend looking up any of these other zoos on the call and watching what they have done. You might get some ideas, or you might figure out a kind of outline that might work for you. We took elements of the Beastly Ball that we definitely liked, and then we tried to do things like that in a smaller fashion or a way that worked for our zoo and our production team. So I recommend connecting with one another. I'd be happy to talk with anybody that would email me or anything just about these events. So I will wrap up my little events portion saying that we have Boo at the Zoo coming up. And Boo at the Zoo is a community favorite in our town. And we are going to take part of our Boo at the Zoo and make it a virtual costume contest. So we're going to engage a crowd. I mean, people could enter all across the United States, essentially. And as with probably many of your institutions, we're having to do a membership campaign or try to like recoup some memberships that may have dropped off during the COVID-19 closure. So we're going to use Boo at the Zoo as a members only event. We have to limit our capacity anyways, and so we'd have to cut our capacity in half or more in order to execute this in-person event. So we're just going to open it up as an additional premier benefit for our members, and then we can also kind of promote membership or becoming a member while putting all that digital material out there for the costume contest and all those different things. So you're kind of doing two things at the same time with that for us. And then the last thing is we're going to do a conservation lecture series. We do 6 months of conservation lectures every year, but this year we're going to make it a digital format. So all 4 different events we've talked about so far are like a different style. And I'm looking forward to hearing from some of you guys which kinds of events you have done as well. Would anybody like to chime in?
Ashley, can I just jump in for a second? This is Kate from the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association. I'll just say that someone asked, is Zootini on YouTube? I'll say the Beastly Ball is on YouTube at the LA Zoo. And Ashley, is yours on YouTube?
Yes, it is. We'll get into some of these specifics, but yes, our Zootini is on YouTube. When you are streaming a live broadcast, the only thing that I looked at as a negative thing with the kind of republishing of your final version of your event, at least the way we streamed ours, we had to repost the event after it had already been viewed, like 20,000 times, let's say. So then to put the final product into YouTube for the way that we broadcast, it started our view count over. So that's just something to note that, like, if that matters to you or anything, that when you're live streaming, there's a chance you might have to repost your thing. And so yes, Zootini's on YouTube. I bet if you typed in virtual events at aquariums or virtual events at zoos, I'm sure you could find all kinds of examples. I've watched a number myself, so call it up and start getting ideas. I guess when it comes to the different types of event, Zootini, we chose to go with a pre-recorded version of video material and then a live broadcast of that pre-recorded material. So that's different than having a live host. Like Kate at the Beastly Ball, they had a live host. They also had pre-recorded material, and they had multiple levels of different things in an online auction and a Fund a Need campaign actually as well. So you have to ask yourself, what platforms do you have access to? Is this something that you have to work within the parameters of programs you already have at your institution, or can you get an additional program in order to help facilitate this? So some of those basic questions are where you have to start with. What is the style of your event, and what are you trying to achieve? For us, you also have to consider, what does your internet access look like? Because everybody's zoo or aquarium is different. They all sit in different places and probably have different kinds of connectivity on grounds in different areas of the zoo or offices or anything. So for us, internet connectivity is very hard and difficult because we're among the redwood forest and we have like 65 acres of redwoods right behind our zoo. So that blocks a lot of the signal. So that's one of the first considerations. And basically you can make certain decisions when it comes to the style of event that alleviate some of the worry you might face on the day of deploying a live virtual event by the type of style that you choose to go with. So for us, ensuring that the event would go on, having the pre-recorded material, a perfect show that we could have the control to edit beforehand, have maybe some people who you might have to go through different channels of approval at your zoo or aquarium, and you might want to double check everything's correct with your animal language, things like that. So you have a little like extra elements of control when you do a pre-recorded program. And I look up to Kate and the Beasley Ball and their program with the live host and the mixing of the two, because you have to have like a mixing board to mix the footage of the live speaker and the pre-recorded material and the music and the whole thing. So let's see, does anyone have a different kind of...
Can I jump in?
Yes, Nicole, welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Rustad. I'm co-founder of Unboxes Creative. And myself and my team, we actually originally came from Club Penguins. So if any of you had little kids, or maybe you were young at the time, we were the biggest game for kids in the world, the biggest MMO it's called. And so we have tons of best practices for engaging kids and families. And what I'm wondering is, like, I've been working actually remotely for over 15 years because I worked for Disney for 10 years. And I was in the tech division. And one of the things I want everyone to know that is really helpful when you are doing virtual events is how important it is to make sure you're still engaging people, because that's the hardest part about doing these events, is that it's always this one-way conversation. And so I would really encourage all of you to think about, when you do a virtual events, that you have a team that is able to be actually engaging with the people that are online at the same time as that event going on, so that people are really feeling that they're part of a community. And that's just super important. I also think this is as awful as this time is, it's a huge opportunity for all of you to be able to engage kids and millennial parents, because they're really comfortable in the online space. And so building out those networks for that next generation of people who go to zoos and aquariums. So it's just one of those things, like trying to get people to, like, I would have volunteers participate in your virtual events. And every time you see a chat or you see something going on, that you have people actually responding in real time and engaging with those people, so that they can feel like, wow, this is a personal experience. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, so someone asked, and maybe Nicole can continue to help us here with how do we engage those folks? I'll start with a small point that I like to think for Zootini in particular. Like, how many touch points do you have, and how many times can you connect with this person, like, that is viewing your program? It's not just viewing the program. There's many aspects of the event. So for instance, there's add-ons, like we have a Zootini swag bag. You can, if you do it in a social distance kind of fashion and all these things, you can put together some kind of goodie bag for the people who are going to view the show on the night of. And you could have, snacks. We had zoo branded masks. We had a nice tote bag they could use other places. We made sure everything was like reusable and conservation minded and things. And you can slip information in those bags. And so you can get them to interact by, first of all, purchasing one of those bags to support you with a donation. And then they can pick it up. And then that gives an opportunity with the whole pickup or delivery. We offered free delivery in a certain amount of area as well. You could have board members there to give the bags to the people and to interact with the people. You can have the board members personally deliver in their little area where those bags to people, maybe people who can't get out or something. And then inside the bag could be more engaging opportunities, like take a picture with your Zootini martini glass and post it to our Facebook, like in this certain group, or use hashtag Zootini. There's so many different ways you can start engaging them. So that's like a physical type way of engagement, which could also lead into more virtual engagement. I'm curious to hear how other people might engage, because I know a lot of you have done events like this with little add-on components and all those things. Nicole, do you want to throw any other engaging ways out, and maybe that someone else might like to chime in?
Yeah, I think it's like having an actual activity for your viewers while they're actually participating in your virtual event. So it is like the use of polls. I saw some on the side there, like the polls, all the different features that are available through something like Zoom. There's also other really great digital platforms for conferences and events. I don't know the names of all of them off the top of the heads, but I know like Wildlife Conservation Network did a fabulous their conferences last spring was incredible. The platform they used, I was super impressed with. Allowed for a lot of engagement and breakout rooms, much like what you're doing here with AZA. And it wasn't Zoom that they used, but it really worked well. When it comes to kids, though, like they want activity and they want to be recognized. So if you have the opportunity for kids to submit their artwork or come up with a name for one of your animals in your exhibits and then showcase that through your virtual event and call that out. You have to be careful about UGC, user-generated content in the digital space. There's a lot of privacy concerns and online security concerns that you have to consider for especially kids under 13. But there are ways you can do it. Especially, obviously you're going to have parents involved, so you can get them to sign a waiver saying that it's okay for you to showcase my kid's artwork or whatever it is. But I know the other interesting thing about an online format is, there's different types of people, and extroverts, for example, they love online. Kids on the spectrum love online, and adults as well. And so it's a really great way to engage new audiences that you wouldn't normally consider, or people with different abilities who, maybe can't get to your place. I also think there's a real opportunity for 365 days of engagement rather than, like if you think about a pet adoption, for example, it's just sort of a static initiative, like the person gets a certificate, they get the plush or whatever it happens to be. But what if you recreated that as a virtual opportunity so that you've got like an ongoing touch point with these children and families that have adopted a pet, for example. So I think there's a lot of different ways. And, like my company, we do digital experiences and games for kids. And, it's just a really great way to keep people engaged if you're reaching out to them. So not just doing something static and that's one way.
Hey, Ashley, it's Kate. Everyone. We have so many people in this room. It's like 100 people. There's no way we're going to get to everybody, but I do encourage you all to keep posting in the chat, because that way we can share even more information amongst everyone who's participating. And this is being recorded, so it can be viewed later, I guess.
Okay. And does anyone else, would anyone else like to chime in? You can take yourself off mute and say your name or raise your hand.
Ashley, I had, this is Rachel. We had emailed a little bit. We were in a coffee chat yesterday, just really briefly. My name's Rachel Cribbs. I'm with the Form Group, which is in Cleveland. We're partners with the Cleveland Zoological Society. Just a high level suggestion to reach out to your arts and culture orgs in your specific area. They might have some really helpful market research, especially because, and selfishly, that's my background, where I formerly was for 10 years. And they've had to rely solely on virtual programming since they're not able to open. So because everything is so region specific right now in terms of just, what's happening in the world, and it might give you some good tips as they're sort of maybe a few steps ahead in these conversations, since they've not yet been able, for the most part, to invite folks in person. And then you might establish some really good collaboration opportunities there as well. So just to throw that out as a high level suggestion.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. Let's see. So I know I'm going to kind of refocus us a tiny bit with essentially how do all these virtual events generate revenue? There's over 100 of us in this room, so I think we can share some ideas that you could also adapt and take back to your institution and work on once we start sharing some of these things. I wanted to mention one or two things that your guys' conversation sparked for me. And that is, in conjunction with these events, you have to consider, like, who do you have working on this? Who is on your team? Because that's a really important question to putting this whole entire thing together on how big or how small you can make this, and also how much funds you can literally generate as well. So for us, our foundation, it is down to 2 individuals. We're the philanthropic partner of the Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation, and we have myself, which is Director of Marketing and Events, and our Executive Director. So it's an extremely heavy load for our team to lift this virtual event fundraiser entire thing. So we divided it into 3 pieces: the auction, which is the online auction portion, the production, and the swag bags, or like the add-on feature. And then we had to divide, I would call them like high-level volunteers, people that you have that are very dedicated working with your organization, or board of directors perhaps, that you could divvy up and divide tasks among, and kind of give them some ownership of certain areas of the event. And then on top of things, you have to consider how much staff time are we putting into this production, and is this production going to be the biggest revenue generator of the whole equation? So that is a question to ask and keep top of mind, is like how we made it an 1.5-hour long virtual event, which is quite involved to take that much video footage on zoo grounds and to edit it all and to get everything just perfect. All mentioned in other conversations, someone mentioned it's about a 16-week endeavor to put on a full-on virtual event with all the different aspects. I hear that, and I had 8 weeks to execute mine. And so I realized like I was going to have double the work in half as much time. And just keep in mind that the work is not any less hard. It's just different work. It's like we've all spent hundreds of hours before in a major event setting things up, getting things ready. But this is just like getting everything ready for a digital audience. So just kind of keep those things in mind. And I'm curious to hear how people have translated their digital events into revenue. Would anyone like to chime in on that? Let's see. It's not really showing me any raised hands, so if anyone just wants to unmute themselves and say hello, we'd love to hear from you.
I just want to say one other thing. A lot of you have incredible followings in your social channels. That's huge value to companies. So if you're looking for sponsorships for your events, I think you need to sell people on the following that you actually have on your social platforms, and that their logo will be part of that animal display or whatever it happens to be. But I think that's a huge thing that all of you should be looking at capitalizing on.
Yeah, why don't we get into the sponsorship and partnership part of this discussion? So some people are having extreme success with sponsors and partners during this COVID-19 time, and others are having difficulties. I mean, I'm personally having to probably reshape our program and work on getting the sponsors back or in new ways personally. But I know other people, we have Greg from the Oklahoma City Zoo, who has talked about extreme successes they've had with partners during this time period. So for us, it was very important to consider like how, first of all, how has the relationship changed with the partners or sponsors that you already have, or the ones that are diehard supporters? And then how do we need to be sensitive to our partners during this COVID-19 economy? Because some people have had, the experience really varies across the board. So some sponsors might have had a more difficult time with things during the pandemic, and other sponsors might be really succeeding right now. So like Nicole was mentioning, that for us, we interact with about 17,000 individuals social media wise on a daily basis. That's many more than a couple hundred people to a couple thousand people at any event that we would have on grounds physically at our zoo. So it's also a way to really show instead of tell things about your sponsors. For instance, I think at AZA last year, we were talking about making sponsored videos, how that's a new benefit in this day and age to make a commercial, like a 30-second commercial that shows your sponsor in action rather than just a logo on a banner at the entrance or something. So you can make it a lot more dynamic. And, you know, I remember an example last year that was like maybe someone donated a zoo mobile to your zoo and you can transport your animals to education centers and bring the outdoors to other institutions and bring the wildlife to them. So you could pan in on the logo on the back of the bus and show that sponsor in action and doing something for your zoo. And that's so much more valuable than just a static item, I feel. So does anyone have a success story with a sponsor, or maybe not a success story, any kind of story with a sponsor they'd like to share from this COVID-19 closure time?
So this is Robin Savoyan. I'm from the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association, and we actually transitioned one of our donor programs, which we have now been calling LA Zoom to You, which is basically our curators speaking with our zoo director and our GLAZA president on a monthly basis about conservation programs that we're engaged with. We actually moved from City National Bank was one of our sponsors for one of our in-person events, which was our sustainable wine dinners. And when we moved to not having on-site events, we actually moved them as a sponsor from a physical event, the wine dinners, to a virtual event, which is our Safari Society, which is for upper level annual donors. So it's a free program for them, but we were able to utilize the sponsorship from City National Bank from a physical event and transition that over to a virtual event.
And I would like to add to that, I'm one of the co-hosts of that event. City National Bank wants to target high net worth individuals, and of course they're interested in our donors. So this was a perfect transition for them.
Hi, I'll add too. I'm Catherine Giles with the Weber Group, and actually we've sponsored in the past a lot of zoo and events, and I like this year that like National Aviary sent me a list of the virtual events that they were going to have to see what our choices would be to be showcased for their virtual events, and we really appreciate that they recognized that and gave us some options on what we felt like was going to be the best audience for our product. So.
And she also makes me think that with the digital aspect of things, you can really curtail your audience. So you could really target your audience per what sponsor you're working with or what type of event you're doing. So that's another benefit that you can do with digital capabilities. Does anyone else have a sponsorship story they'd like to talk about, or maybe a difficulty they're experiencing in their sponsorship program? Okay, well, let's see here. So I'm interested in hearing from some of you who have created a new revenue stream through a digital aspect, like the cameos, or they mentioned the Zoom performances, or maybe field trips, virtual field trips. Does anyone have an experience with virtual events in that sense? Feel free to unmute yourself. Looks like there's quite a bit going on.
I'm Aphrodite with Safari West. We created the Zoomfari in March because we were closed March the 6th and we knew that we had to do something creative. Zoomfari took, we went out to our community, went out to schools and said if they were going to have their Zoom meetings, that we would go ahead and interact with them. So what we did during their Zoom meetings, we provided an opportunity for them to have a giraffe encounter, a rhino encounter, whatever it was, to kind of showcase what we were doing at Safari West, and also just to give back to the community. We didn't charge for this. It's our Zoomfari program. Now it's online, and we are charging for corporate meetings. Not very much, just enough to help us going. But it's been extremely successful, the Zoomfari.
Well, thank you for sharing. I will look that up on the internet.
Ashley, people are starting to post links to their, virtual events that they've had in the chat. It'd be great if you've had a virtual event and there's still content on your site, to post it in the chat, and then we'll get an email out to everyone with a compilation of all that. I think we can do that, or we'll post it through the network in AZA.
That sounds fantastic, Kate. Thank you so much for helping moderate this chat room. We have so much engagement on the chat room. This is wonderful. Let's see. Someone mentions that their boo at the zoo is going to change to drive-through with Oscar Mayer hot dog sponsor. Drive-through pickup of goodies and goodie bags. Goodie bags will include community outreach. So that's interesting. And, not everybody has a drive-through zoo area space, though, is one of the things. So, that's why it's great to talk shop in these rooms, because everybody has such different conditions that they're working with. Let's see.
Actually, the drive-through was at the sponsor's pickup area.
Oh.
That was off-site.
Well, that's an even better idea. So that would expand your abilities. Wonderful.
Hi everyone. I'm Nicole Warren. I'm from the North Carolina Aquarium at Pine Hill Shores, and I kind of want to throw that question out to the group. We are an indoor facility, and we have just opened up as of Monday. And so we usually do a trick or treat under the sea event, and we specifically gear that to little guys. So like preschool pumpkin patch guys. So if anybody has any ideas on how to make that virtual, or how you're making your Boo at the Zoo event virtual, or even if you have an indoor area, how you're making that virtual this year, or if you're still doing on-site programs, I'd love some ideas for that. If anybody's found anything that really, or they think is going to work really well this year.
Hi, Becky with the Seattle Aquarium. Halloween was one that I've been struggling with, to be sure. And we're really just taking some of our more popular elements and making some Facebook Live. So we're in this process. We do underwater pumpkin carving with divers. And normally it's 2 divers in an exhibit, and it's this huge competition. But due to COVID, we can't even have 2 divers in the tank right now because there's not enough space to prep. So we're looking at making it over time, creating some time lapse to show how it's evolved, and then turning around and doing some live events to get people engaged there. I also heard somebody talk about making the Boo in the Zoo just a member-only on-site event, which is something I'm now interested in exploring with our membership team, because that might be a fun way to limit audience but still have some of those trick-or-treat opportunities.
Hi, this is Pamela from Seneca Park Zoo in Rochester, and while we're an outdoor facility, we are moving ahead with Zubu on site, but we're not having trick-or-treat stations. We're actually doing a special spooktacular tour that's virtual that you can only access if you pay to be a part of Zubu. So it's a combination of on-site and virtual, and we're going to see if it works. It's really terrific content. It's fun facts, conservation facts using our spookier animals, if you will, like snow leopards, the ghost leopard kind of thing. So, it's different, and you got to take a crack this year. This is the year where the business model's been broken for us. So we try everything and see what works.
Wonderful. Anybody else have any Boo at the Zoo stories or hybrid event models that they're kind of exploring?
Hey, Melanie Fernandez, Capron Park Zoo in Attleboro, Mass. Our Halloween event is traditionally an evening event where we have a bunch of people in the span of about 3 hours. So with capacity limitations, we're having to completely pivot that event to just weekends now during the day. It's looking like it's going to be a very successful event, but we're a little bit untried on doing a daytime event for the Halloween type of thing. We do have our operations team has come up with some really amazing ideas on how to do trick-or-treating safely. I'm sure people have seen it. They're making PVC pipes that they're going to decorate like animals so that people can be on a platform and drop candy down it for kids. We'll have we can't do things like games, obviously, because you can't wash game pieces, but we're going to have the typical pumpkin patch and people in costumes in the zoo, social distance, of course. And we're only doing a limited number of advance tickets so people can still buy tickets at the door. That's going to be the logistical nightmare for us, but we'll figure it out. It's just nice to be able to do something event-wise, which we haven't been able to do. We are just up to getting to like 50% capacity now. We've just reached that point here in Massachusetts. So, you know, for an event that normally attracts about double of what our 50% capacity is, we're trying to spread that out over multiple weekends to still generate revenue and get people into the zoo, but be safe at the same time.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So someone in the chat room asks to like elaborate on how much revenue virtual events are generating. Let's see here. So they're asking to share it in the chat, examples of the event and associated revenue. So, you know, I guess for us, in our Zootini event, which it was, I think, the 14th year running, we have a certain kind of model and expected revenue that you typically bring in, but we had to completely omit one section of our event, which was essentially what I saw at the Beastly Ball and Kate's Zoo was the Fund a Need campaign. And that usually is a big part of our event, where people donate to a specific cause and we raise a certain amount of funds for a goal. And I would say that that's like a third of our typical revenue on Zootini, but we were limited in our capabilities with what kind of software that we had access to using. And there really wasn't a way we could conceive at the time how to put the Fund a Need type campaign into our online interface portal that people use on their phones. It just wasn't going to work with what we had access to. So we just had to boost our online auction and our swag bags. So we knew there was like 1/3 of our event that we wouldn't be collecting revenue on. So we kind of had an expected lower expectation on how much to raise out of the virtual event. And we also realized that if we only are able to collect a certain amount per virtual event, that we might have to do multiple or additional versions of those and do 2 of them that might equal the same as one of our previous type events, or split them up in different ways in order to generate revenue in that sense. So does anyone have an experience they'd like to share about that, generating the revenue piece of the
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kettle, PR manager at Moat Marine Laboratory in Aquarium in Sarasota, Florida. We were lucky enough, one of our first virtual events we had to do was actually part of our community foundation's giving challenge. So we were able to really hook into kind of that overall community giving. And we hosted a virtual trivia night as part of that. And what we were able to do was actually secure a match that we announced during the trivia event to really get the people, because the event itself was free, but we announced that match that would be going on for the next hour to really get those in the trivia event to turn around and make a donation during that match time. And that was really successful. And folks that were in the trivia event were really excited about, you know, that we announced that match, and we did see kind of a spike in the donations at the time of the trivia event. That was a really successful thing we were able to do. And, you know, the event itself was kind of, we had a couple of like hard asks in there, but was still kind of just, you know, we announced that and had the hard ask in there, but then the rest was kind of just an engagement piece.
So Stephanie, if you don't mind me asking, how did the people donate to your event? Because thinking of like the different ways that they can donate is a super important aspect of it. Like, did they text? Did they take pictures of QR codes? Like, where did you drive people to make their donation?
So, like I said, it was part of our Community Foundation's Giving Challenge, and they had a platform, and that's where they were keeping track of all the donations and things like that. So we were lucky that we, since it was part of the challenge, we just kept driving people to that platform. So I don't know how relevant that is for like the general events, because it was a specific Giving Challenge event through our Community Foundation.
Okay, does anyone else want to comment about methods of donation or how to kind of get your donation message out there in many ways, shapes, or forms during your event? Rachel?
I think that I'm sorry, did you mean me, Rachel, Ashley? I don't know if there's another Rachel on here. One of the keys that I've seen I know a lot of performing arts orgs that have done virtual galas is you got to start fundraising before the live event. So expect that the attrition is going to be not the attrition, but the no-show rate is pretty high. So a lot of organizations I've seen have done maybe 60 to 70% of the total revenue that they hoped to make in advance of the event. So by, silent auctions online, other fundraising. So that's key, is doing that pre-work. And then during the event, there's all kinds of mechanisms you can set up depending on what tools you have or who you're working with. You can set up anything from text to donate. Obviously, just drive people to a simple landing page. You can do things like all those mechanisms you can figure out. And then just, keep inserting those calls to action, kind of like, I like to use the example of like a PBS fundraiser, PBS pledge drive rather, is that, you continually remind throughout the feed of like, hey, don't forget you can donate XYZ ways. And whatever you do, it's got to be like one click. It can't be, if it's complicated, you're not going to raise as much. So lots of ways, and then just doing as much as you can in advance has been successful for most people.
Actually commenting on some of that, or basically people's behavior during the event and stuff. So we had an online auction as part of Zootini, the virtual event, and we had it open for 9 days. We basically had it open for 8 days, 7-8 days before the event, and then on the 8th day, the event happened. And then we left it open for 24 hours after the event happened. And I actually did learn that from LA Zoo and Beasley Ball in their experience of leaving their auction open for an additional 24 hours after they already did the big event. They were able to collect a large sum additionally on top of what they had already made as the event ended in that 24-hour window. And we actually saw the exact same thing at our zoo, probably on a slightly smaller scale, but we did make a number of the money beforehand. We made some during the event is when the heated auction bidding wars were taking place. People started really upping their bids at that time. And then once they saw the quality of our production, I think that also gave them like confidence in donating to this organization, and it started generating more and more bids. And then on the final day, that last 24 hours, we raised an additional, I don't know, probably 25% additional income or something in that extra 24 hours, because everybody kept going back to the auction and looking at their bids and wondering if they had lost or if they had won and putting in more. So that was fantastic. Another tip I think I learned from LA Zoo was to end your auction like at a fairly early hour. We chose 6:30 p.m. to end our auction. Because if you end your auction like at I had originally planned for midnight a certain night, but like if you end your auction at midnight, all your robotic letters would go out probably at midnight. You might start dinging people's phones or like sending notifications in the middle of the night to people. And also, if you try and make the end time known, like in all of our marketing materials, we said it closes at 6:30 on the 9th, then you have like a time and a place for everybody to go check and see if they won. And also if it's at a reasonable hour, it just makes it that much easier for people to be engaged, involved, and see if they won. Let's see. I just, based on something Rachel said, I was thinking about the no-show rate she mentioned. And, you know, I asked myself after the Zootini event, like, how important was the actual event being at the exact time and the exact date that I put it? Like, because it was like we had a 9-day auction. We had a live broadcast event on August 8th at 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. So, like, how valuable is that 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m.? And, you know, we worked on everything like that was the gala type event at the zoo in that exact hour on that time. But what I learned was that so many people watched the event like in the hour afterward, in the next day, that we got, like, let's say 1,000 people during the actual live event, but then we got almost 20,000 views before the 24-hour period was over. So there was people who, you know, they watched the event more on their own time. And that's a significant thing to remember. And is if you want to leave your event as like a legacy, you want to keep it on your website, or you want to keep it on YouTube or somewhere where it's easily accessible and easily shareable. Because we're still getting views right now. I'm getting view upon view upon view. And I'm sure it's probably generating some donations and driving people to our website, and people are looking further at our zoo in our neck of the woods. So I guess that's just a question to ask yourself, is like, how valuable is like the launch, the time, the exact time? And when you do have your audience tuned in, why are they tuned in? Is there like a reason? Can they interact with zoo representatives who are answering and moderating the comments and like asking trivia questions like during the live event? Or like, really, what's the purpose? Because that's just a question to ask, basically. If anybody would like to comment on some of that, more than welcome.
I want to just add on to what you just said as it relates back, and then I promise I'll shut up because there's a lot of other people here that I want to hear from too. That question though about figuring out exactly what your primary goals are is important for those kind of pivoting ongoing programs as well. So not just, we've been talking about kind of like galas and fundraisers and these major events for a little while, but like kind of going back to ongoing programs when, you know, it's really just a matter, the harder part I think is editing and stripping away the things that aren't going to resonate with your audience, and just kind of taking a step back and deciding like, what purpose does this program serve for our institution and for the patrons that we're serving, whether it's, and you have to get really clear on who those people are that you're serving. So that's going to help reveal some of the answers of the ticky-tacky mechanisms for those ongoing things and those virtual galas. So I think that's a really good point.
Well, we have about 100 other people in here. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and mention anything about virtual events revenue generation, anything? Let's see. Somewhat of a quiet group. Okay.
I just want to jump in. Sorry, I've spoken prior, but I was really upset to see that the Vancouver Aquarium stopped taking memberships and closed its doors. And I think when you think about, you know, you can't necessarily have people come to their doors, you can still bring value though through your digital experiences for members. And members want to support each, you know, the zoo and aquarium that they love. So don't think that just because people can't come through the door that you can't pivot to offering those members and new members that experience as something that's of value, because I'm seeing a lot of people put things online for free that are taking a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it probably shouldn't be free. Like maybe you have a loss leader that's a small snippet, but that you would monetize the bigger experience so that, you know, you can give people a taste of something and then charge for the rest, because it is really valuable what you're doing, the education programs, the digital experiences of kids getting to see and people getting to see the animals. So I would really encourage people to really think about that that initially, yes, okay to be free. Now, no, you need to monetize these experiences.
Becky with the Seattle Aquarium again. Question on that. I know lots of us are doing lecture series. We actually did one lightning talks early on. We're looking to redo that. When would be a good point to take something like a lightning talks or a lecture series that normally would be a paid event on site, and now we're taking it virtual? We're going with free because we want as much people seeing it as possible and making those connections. But what's the right point to monetize part of it, create, donate? Like, has anybody had success in those kind of lecture series and making them actual revenue generators?
Becky, I think this is where it's a matter of people looking at other industries and how they're doing it. So there are a lot of different ways you can do the webinars so you'd have like one that would be like, say, free, and then get people to sign up for the ongoing. And the price point I would make less, obviously, than an in-person, but you can reach a wider audience around the world. So I would do it that way. And if you reach out to me, I know people that do that kind of thing, and I can just give you some connections there on it.
Ashley, we had a question about how people are doing a virtual costume contest. Are they just posting photos to Facebook and Instagram and tagging them? So if anyone who's doing one of these wants to shout out or has done something similar, it'd be great to hear from you.
I can mention something on that, but I'm wondering if anyone else is doing this. Anybody else in the room?
This is Lisa Johnson from the Zoo Society at Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium in Tacoma. We are going to be doing one next month. We had an adult-only tasting event, Zoo Booze and Bites, that we canceled, obviously. So in lieu of that, we've actually asked guests to make a donation for conservation as well as participate in a virtual contest. We are partnering with our marketing. We have a third-party vendor, so we're separate from the zoo, and they are going to manage it on our Instagram. And so we have a hashtag, and then we will, as a staff, vote on who's going to do it, who wins the prizes. And we actually have about 3 or 4 specific prizes that we're offering, which is what we do with the live event. We do a costume contest. And so we're just kind of really just taking it virtually and having a specific hashtag. And then they're going to manage that for us, and we'll choose, and then go from there. And it's open for kids to adults.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anyone else have a Boo at the Zoo costume contest story to share?
The Zoo Run at Zoo Miami is actually doing a contest as part of the Zoo Run. And we are going to be doing it through Instagram as well. Right now, we're prepping the files to kind of let people be aware of the rules and how it's going to be run. I think that's part of the biggest challenge that we've been having, is that people don't understand what the virtual really entails. So there's kind of an education that kind of happens prior to any of the events. And that's kind of how we're handling it right now. But that's the only way that we could kind of figure out, was just to kind of leave a larger window open so that people can post their Instagram posts. And we're encouraging them. We did our own photography, so we're using that to push out the social media so that people can see the swag that people's using, and then kind of incentivize people to post their own photos further down the road once the Zoo Run formally opens. Which brings an issue that I wanted to ask everybody. So one of our greatest challenges has been the promotional items. So we worked out and we negotiated a package with the vendor. So it's like a flat shipping fee. But that's the logistics of some of these things have been kind of a real hiccup for us, because it's kind of tied our hands in some way, because it doesn't allow us to do certain things, or we had to kind of like say, okay, you have to order by this time in order to receive by this time. So has anybody else looked at, at one point we were kind of like brainstorming, like, was there a way to use like Amazon there, since there's a lot of centers for shipping? Does anybody have any experience there that they might want to share to kind of understand? we kind of treated it as a flat fee, like a $4 flat fee for if I order 1 or 10 items, it's $4 flat fee, but everything ships together. So that's kind of how we've handled it, but I don't know if anybody else has any experiences there.
Those are great questions. Anybody?
Suzette, did you say shipping swag bags, not like I'm sorry, I only caught the tail end of your question.
We're basically offering a t-shirt, a medal, and we developed these really cute zoo zebra socks that we're selling. So in the beginning we sold it as a package, but now we're selling them as individual items, and we had a cutoff time. So whether you bought one sock or a sock with the shirt and the medal, whatever the configuration was, it's a $4 shipping fee to whatever address.
I participated in a virtual run where I had to go pick up my own race packet. So instead of shipping, I don't know if that helps at all since you've already incorporated shipping costs, but just as an alternative. And this is a good trick too if you're doing if you have items to give away from a virtual gala, is instead of getting it to them, that you set a specific time frame and say, like, come pick up your, pick up whatever at this time. They had a couple dates. If it's a high volume, I actually was one of the jerks that missed the drive-through pickup time because of my 2-year-old. And then I had to go later. And it was one of the sponsors, a running shop here in my town, that took the leftovers. And they said, over the course of the next week, stop by, Second Soul and pick up your race packet. So it kind of actually was a nice sponsorship thing too, because then it got some people coming to their store. So I don't know if that helps though, if you're committed to shipping.
Yeah, well, I think our difficulty was that we literally got people from all over the United States. It wasn't just our location. So that was a really big consideration for us. And that was a big part of our outreach. We told people, like, invite your whole family, like a family event, like get your family from California, from Nebraska, like just bring them all together and do this as a family. So that's how we kind of framed it. But yeah, we thought about it, but the logistics also of like doing the drive-by, and then, and our zoo literally just opened, Zoo Miami opened on yesterday, I think. So it was one of those scenarios where we've been so on and off, like they opened up Zoo Miami and then they closed it. And then now they kind of opened it up again. So we don't know if at any point they just shut us down again. So that's I think, the considerations that we couldn't risk doing an in-person anything at this point in time.
Hi, my name is Molly. I work for a national organization. We actually just moved our entire inventory to a fulfillment center, and so that's how we manage it. And it's not an Amazon fulfillment center. It's a company called eFulfillment. I can put the information in the chat. But they're really great because we just go on their dashboard, we put in the orders. We actually have an online store that connects, so they talk to each other, and they ship everything out for us. We don't do any shipping at all anymore.
Well, I'm very interested in Molly's reference, but I'm also curious about Suzette's question. Was the problem like logistics because of the staff capacity that it took in order to fulfill all these orders? Or was it more like problems with shipping and the mail system itself, like you couldn't get it out, or like you didn't charge enough in the $4 fee to get your items across to other states? Or like, what were some of those issues?
It was more coming up with a pricing structure that was going to be, It was more coming up with a pricing structure that was going to be, that the vendor, was okay with. Part of it is we're really worried about receiving things in time. So we were really good about getting pre-production samples and really making sure things were like ready to go once the orders came in. And then it was like everything was already approved. It was just run, like produce. But the shipping to locations is a real, like we buffered it, but we're really worried. We wanted as much selling time as possible, but we knew that shipping, if it did come by the time the race started, that was going to be a real negative for us. So that's been a real consideration. So it's just, we feel like there was a lot of moving pieces, and we just felt like we're trying to maximize, and try to bring in as much revenues as we can. But that was a consideration that we just had to, the logistics were like a real, real part of the process, I think, for us. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's all valuable information and
reminds us to like consider our teams and our capacity and in conjunction with these virtual events, because you're doing all these new duties that you normally wouldn't do, and you just kind of have to solve them and see how you can do it. So let's see, Becky, I believe you've got something to say.
I was waving to my husband, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Well, let's see. I had two things kind of resonate with me in some of this conversation, and we have about 20 minutes left, I believe, so we can take the conversation wherever you guys would like. Let's see. One of the things someone mentioned, or part of this talk, was about driving attendance and revenue growth. And I was thinking about that, and really, the audience that you're recruiting might be virtual, is what I was thinking in conjunction. So when you're driving attendance, you might be driving attendance to your virtual event. So I thought that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. And how does the larger audience for your virtual event translate to increases in revenue? That's just a good question. For our experience with Zutini, we brought in donations from all different states, just like Suzette was mentioning. The expanding your reach means you can get money into your institution from all over the United States, possibly internationally. Our biggest donor came from Missouri, and we're sitting here in California. So it's just funny because the person in Missouri wouldn't have necessarily been able to attend in person and donate their funds to our cause, but they did online. So that's definitely a point. And let's see, I think Rachel was talking about monetizing the experience at some point. And I believe in another conversation, we had spoken about this, and when does it become a detractor is my question. Because sometimes, that's just the question. When does it become a detractor that people have to pay in order to see something that you're putting on? And when is it a benefit? I know that we're all needing to increase our revenue streams, but is the paid ticket or the paid experience really the way, or are there other ways that we can recoup that? Does anyone want to comment on that? Or does anybody have any experiences with paid tickets or paid add-ons that you have to pay in order to get a type of material sent to you on a platform? Anybody at all?
I think, Ashley, while people are coming up with their ideas to answer that, I think to address your question about when does it become a detractor, I guess I'm assuming you mean like from the patron's point of view, when is it and is it off-putting that they have to pay? Yeah. I think it depends on the type, the quality of the experience is something you should certainly consider, and the quality of the experience both in relationship to the other types of content that you put out there within your organization. So like in comparison, but then also a little bit of you do have to consider across platforms and industry-wide, like what's available, how much does someone pay for a Netflix subscription for the quality of content there? I mean, that's maybe not a great example, but just to be thinking a little bit outside of your own organization, but certainly, try to come up with something that's commensurate with the quality of the material they're going to be receiving. And then also taking into consideration your audience and what you charge other things, certainly charging less for virtual than for in-person. But there, at least in the performing arts world, again, not to keep chiming in on that, but there have been some data and benchmarking sets put together that people are willing to pay for these virtual experiences, to pay something. I don't know what the benchmarking is like in the zoos and aquariums world. I haven't looked into it, but Colleen Dillenschneider with Know Your Own Bone, I can put that link in the chat. She does a lot of benchmarking for cultural institutions and museums, and they've been putting out a weekly kind of data sets, basically that could help organizations make choices about how much to charge. But I'm definitely of the camp that a little bit is a good way to recoup some of that cost, so that in other places you could continue doing free events to address the accessibility. And then again, it just depends on how those all jive together.
That's definitely a good point. Let's see, does anyone else have any experience with paid tickets?
Hi, I'm Jackie Fitzgibbons from the Living Museum, and we did paid tickets for some things, but we're looking at the potential for switching to, like you said, like free with add-on bags, and I was wondering if anybody had maybe done both and which one was like more successful in getting the revenue in. So if I can reach, 10,000 people and each person gives $1, or one person and they give $10,000, like, I don't know, we're small. We weren't sure. We're coming up on a food and wine festival that we were supposed to be doing in February. Obviously, we're not going to be doing a lot of in-person buffet style food and wine. And if anybody knows, like the free ticketing with add-ons versus just a straight up ticket to get in would be more beneficial.
Hi, this is Mark from the Utica Zoo in Utica, New York. So we did our Wine in the Wilderness fundraiser completely virtually this year, and we found that by having a wide range of robust options that people could add on to their just general attendance of the virtual event, it actually garnered a lot more support than we had originally expected. So one that may be probably more relevant to your particular event is that we had some local chefs make their own videos of them preparing recipes for particular hors d'oeuvres or something that they would have paired with wine regularly. And to gain access to these videos, it was only I think it was a $5 or $10 add-on, and the value of it is negotiable. But we found that of all the people that chose to add on this particular fee, only about half of them actually carried through and utilized those items. So we found that by offering different ways for people to either get more for their dollar and increase the general value, but also B, we found that this is a good way for people to more or less essentially provide a donation that didn't cost us anything to receive it, and it was their prerogative if they were going to follow through with it. So we found, and additionally, we even said, hey, do you want to add on additional donation? And I would say about 80% of the people who bought tickets ended up having that additional donation. So by having an option for people to add things on and tack on additional donations, I think you might be setting yourself up for a wider receipt of funds than you would have with just a standard ticket price.
All right, well, thank you so much. Let's see here. So I guess I have two other comments about online auctions, and then if anyone else wants to talk about another topic, let's go for it. One thing that I noticed, which was a major insight for going from an in-person auction to an online auction offering, was that in person, we often found it very hard to capture the value of the items or like the whole lot. We might get a third or 25% of the value of the whole item lot, and multiple years in a row, we had the same results. And when you got the items out of like a static space and onto somebody's phone, and everybody was able to shop and browse and enjoy, we were able to capture 100% of the value of items, if not exceed the value by far. And so we are thinking about keeping the online auction as part of the physical event in the future. So there's ways to even meld it, like going from in-person to digital, but also going from digital to in-person. And you can't, because first of all, it would make it so that everybody had a bid sheet in their own pocket and they could bid from anywhere on zoo grounds. And so they could participate in the auction and you can reach the wider audience. So that was one thing about the value that was very interesting, to capture so much more online than we do in person. And then the last piece is that I'm trying to coin the term zoo-exclusive experiences at our zoo and in our area. And you can make up whatever term you'd like to, something exclusive. But what those zoo-exclusive experiences are there are items that you can only do at your institution or your aquarium or your place. And those items, I think from hearing in other groups that I've been talking at AZA conference this year, those items do just astronomically better than any other items that you could go from getting from businesses or wherever you might get your normal items. Because the people who are participating in your auction are supporting you, and they're supporting your zoo or your aquarium and your mission and your vision. So you can give them what you love by giving, or what they love, by giving them extra access or more pieces of your zoo. So I really encourage you guys to think about those zoo exclusive experiences that you can create, whether it's like feeding animals or behind the scenes or special tours or just anything that people don't normally get to see. It's kind of a hot item, especially with the kind of zoo television shows and things that they have this day and age, and the behind the scene looks that people are getting more frequently on the internet or on television. So those items go, all of them were our top performers, I would say, of our entire auction. So does anyone want to expand upon that? Maybe some custom experience ideas that were revenue generators? Looks like Amy Pizarro's got one.
Hi there, Amy Pizarro from Happy Hollow Foundation, supporting Happy Hollow Park and Zoo in San Jose, California. And I actually have a very, very tiny staff of 1.5 people. And so we resisted any urge to make our live event virtual. And instead we made an entirely new event, an auction that was social media based only and really focused on what you're talking about with the exclusive, thinking outside of the box items, and it was 12 items only. So we weren't really going for all the donors. We were going for the really high end donors who wouldn't think twice about dropping $1,000 here, $2,000 there. And some of our most popular items were, we have a little kiddie train. And so we turned that into a wine train for 20 people to come and have hors d'oeuvres. And every time they go around, we're gonna pour a different varietal for them. Another item was a family photo shoot on our carousel. So for an hour, you get the whole carousel to yourself and you can pick what animal you want and we supply the photographer. So we just came up with, and the items were so popular. And so in our event made as much as our live event would have with a fraction of the effort. And the cool thing about the zoo exclusive items is that even people who couldn't participate or wouldn't ever think of donating at that level, they still really enjoyed it because they enjoyed reading about these cool things and imagining it. And we did it while we were still closed. So it capitalized on them missing us. And so we did really well in donations and new donors as well. So it was a success story for sure.
I was going to mention the expansion of your donor pool is a definite advantage of these, of recruiting these larger audiences. So when you're looking for how does a larger audience benefit my institution, or is it increasing revenue or anything? We got so many new donors to our system through our virtual events that just expanding your donor pool, and for the next fundraiser that you have, then you can go out to those people, and just bringing more people into your circle is just wonderful. And let's see, one other idea. Let's see, does anyone else have another idea? Well, I think of my other thing.
I do. It's Lisa from the Zoo Society again. So we've done an online auction for a number of years. We didn't do it last 2 years because we opened a new aquarium. But one of the things that we do is we partner with our food service team that is on our zoo, which is a third party. And I do s'mores with the Red Wolves. So we set up a little s'mores thing outside the Red Wolf exhibit. They can have s'mores, and then we actually have a keeper come and talk about the Red Wolves. We do the same thing with a party with the polar bears. So we do wine and appetizers and then we have 2 keepers that talk about our polar bears. So it's very much an interactive with the staff, less on the space itself. But then we also do a dinner. We have an indoor space in our Asia exhibit. it could seat about 30 at a long table. Obviously, we're shortening that down in our upcoming event because of capacity. But it's a custom dinner, and then you get to sit down with either the zoo director, the head vet, and then we do a big presentation, and it's 3 exhibit glass walls, and so we usually have tigers right next to them that get enrichments and stuff like that. So it's really that immersive experience with them having direct access to the keepers, which has been successful for us.
Wow, well, thank you so much for sharing, Lisa. I did think of my thing, and it was that all of us, most likely all of us, are using online reservation systems in order to get people in through the doors of their zoo these days. I mean, with limited capacity rules across the different states, I don't know how many of you are doing that, but basically we have a treasure trove of digital information coming through our doors and coming right to us. And so I just encourage you guys to either think about how you could put like a message or a disclaimer on those reservation required online reservation systems where you're already probably getting their email address. And for us, it just goes into like a constituent record. And the amount of people that we have collected into the constituent record between like reopening till now is like years worth of information that we would normally collect. And so I'm personally working on a way that we can, ethically tell the message to them that we'd like to email you a second time and give you some information. But I just would encourage you guys to think about what digital forms and collections of information that you are already doing on site now, and then how could you meld that into like sending a message about your next virtual event out to the world. And one other point is, when I advertised or when I was thinking about my marketing budget in conjunction with my digital event and digital advertising, what worked for me was advertising digitally to collect a digital audience. So you've got to really think about your models of your budget and your spending on your campaign and where to direct those efforts, because like $50 on a boosted Facebook post might go so much further than even a more expensive ad in a newspaper for the type of thing that you are working on getting an audience for. So those are just some things to consider. It looks like we have about 4 more minutes. Does anyone have some last ideas or comments they want to talk to the group about?
It looks like someone has a hand raised in the chat, Ashley.
If they could just unmute themselves and ask their question. I don't have any indication that there's a hand raised on my side.
Todd, did you have a hand raised in the, no? Okay, might have been a mistaken hand raise.
I just wanted to jump in and let people know, unless you didn't, any nonprofit can apply to Google for a grant of $10,000 for their social media ads. And Google Ads is probably one of your best ways to boost what you're doing, because people are specifically searching for something. So you might have a better success rate that way.
That's definitely a good point. Those Google ad grants are very valuable. There's also grants across other platforms this day and age. I just received indication about a $10,000 Facebook ad grant, but I encourage you to read the fine print and make sure you are okay with why they are giving you the free $10,000. So just keep that in mind, because our organization reviewed them and decided against the one for the free $10,000 from Facebook. But the Google ad grant is definitely an avenue we are going to be working with. So anyways, keep that in mind. Anybody else have... We have 2 minutes, it says. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to share with this wonderful group of minds here?
I think the one other thing that people just need to think about is, for example, the Zoo Miami has their mascots, and they've really been leveraging them to really connect with the community in different ways. So I think that you know, and integrating them. So even in the virtual Feast with the Beast, in the zoo run, like they're a component of it, and they really do help to connect the kids and to connect a different target audience. So it's just something that if you have an animal that's very prized for your zoo or your aquarium, or you have an actual mascot that you've developed, like to really leverage that as an opportunity to have more engagement to different target audiences. It's just something that I know that has really worked for Zoo Miami. So it's just something that I thought I should mention.
Well, guys, we're coming up on our time, so I want to say thank you so much for attending, and don't hesitate to reach out to anybody. I am the secretary of the marketing committee at AZA. Reach out to the marketing committee. We are more than happy to work with you on anything that you are curious about. And I also would like to say, use that AZA network, the marketing one or the PR one or any of those AZA networks, and let's just start talking to each other about these ideas, because I think it's, you know, slightly underutilized and we have wonderful ideas. And last but not least, we are AZA. Have a good conference, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. For 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. Kate, you have something?
I can't copy the chat, but we will work with Corey to see if he can get that for us, or somebody. So just FYI, fill out the Google form if you can.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Kate. And all right. Thanks, folks. Have a wonderful conference.
Thanks so much.
Welcome and thank you for joining Best of Marketing Rapid Fire. I'm Ryan Bickle, Chief Marketing Officer at Blank Park Zoo. And before we begin, I'm going to review a few logistics. During the session, all attendees are in listen-only mode, and you will not be able to speak or share your video. This will help ensure there's no background noise preventing us from hearing our presenters. Instead, we will be inviting you to participate through the Q&A feature. You'll be able to view questions submitted by other attendees and upvote questions you would also like to be answered. The chat feature has been disabled. This session is being recorded. Recordings of virtual annual conference programming will be available to all registered attendees beginning next week. You will receive a communication from AZA with details on accessing recordings when they are available. Today we have 4 very special guests with us that are going to share their successful marketing campaigns, 3 of which were submitted for the AZA's Marketing Excellence Award this spring. The fourth presentation will be about an event and campaign that was launched this summer in response to COVID. First up, we have Katie Kritz, Communications Manager of Potter Park Zoo, who will speak about the campaign Kids Love the Zoo. And then after that, we will have Katie Smith, Vice President of Marketing for the Audubon Zoo, who will speak about Audubon Zoo Lions. The Roar returns. Third, we have Jenny Cook, Marketing Director for Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and her campaign, Reconnect with Nature. And finally, Greg Haney, Chief Marketing Officer of Oklahoma City Zoo and Botanical Garden, will talk about Sip and Stroll. At the end, we're going to have plenty of time for questions, so think of your questions and submit those, and we would be glad to answer them. We're going to go ahead and get started with Katie Kritz here, and I am going to share my screen. And give her remote control. Take it away, Katie.
All right, looks like I have control of the screen. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Kritz. I'm the Communications Manager at Potter Park Zoo in Lansing, Michigan. We are a pretty small zoo and a small communications team. So I am a team of one covering marketing, PR, website, graphic design, you name it. So this campaign in total was really a work of our entire team. Our education team participated, our directors helped. It was a whole team effort, and we are really lucky to work with a brand new marketing and design firm in our town who approached us seeing if we were interested in being their first clients. And they helped us came up with this campaign of Kids Love the Zoo. Our zoo is unique in the Michigan zoo market because we're a child-friendly small size. Usually takes about 2 to 3 hours for people to get through the zoo. And we're really trying to focus on being accessible for all. There are 5 AZA accredited zoos within an 80-mile radius of us. So this was our campaign to try to show the uniqueness of our zoo. Our goals for the campaign, we wanted to increase family attendance, so especially to our community programs. So we have 2 free community programs that are totally free for anyone who wants to come, and we wanted to grow those programs as much as we could. We also wanted to see a lot of community involvement with this campaign. We wanted it to be more than something that our community just saw and something they were proud of that they also participated in. So that was a really cool part of this. And just general awareness, growing social media numbers and memberships is always great. Woo. So we had 2 different phases for this campaign. The first phase was from June 2018 to December 2018. We really focused this part on why kids and parents and families should love the zoo. And then the second phase was January 2018 to August 2019. And we kind of flipped the page here and changed the focus to how the zoo loves our community and the kids and the families that visit our zoo. So this is how we started out. We had a model call on Facebook asking people to post pictures of their kids if they were interested in modeling for this campaign with the hashtag Kids Love the Zoo. And we had a ton of super cute feedback. Lots of people posted pictures, and it was a super fun way to get people involved in this campaign even before it started. So we picked our models and we went to the photo studio. So here are the kids in their costumes at the photo studio. They had a blast. We partnered with a local photographer and a local costume designer, and they were both really excited to be part of this campaign as well. So it was really cool to see, again, the community come together. We created this logo, which we used throughout the campaign. We changed out many of the species. So whatever we are talking about, we could change the species out to be specific to that. And then we paired those with the photos from the studio. So We use these on our social media pages, and we were really happy with the fun happiness that we got from these photos. We also made some fun videos to kind of, go a little further than the pictures and add some movement in. Cute frog. And then we had a 60-second TV spot. We haven't had a TV spot in quite some time, so we're excited for this. Again, we focused on the idea of showing why kids love the zoo, and we did this in a letter form from the child's perspective.
Dear Mom, thank you for today. I had so much fun seeing all the animals. Especially the penguins. They were so cute and funny. My favorite was the black rhino. Miss Ashley, the zookeeper, told me that there are only 5,000 left in the whole wide world, and she gets to help conserve them. When I grow up, I want to be just like Miss Ashley, saving the rhinos. Today was a good day, Mom. I love the zoo. Can we go again tomorrow? XOXO Tegan.
So we really loved that letter format, and we mimicked that for a 30-second radio spot.
Dear Mom, thank you for today. I had so much fun seeing all the animals, especially the penguins. They were so cute and funny.
Miss Ashley, the zookeeper, told me that there are only 5,000 black rhinos left in the whole wide world,
and she gets to help conserve them.
Kids love the zoo at Potter Park. Admission is only $5 for kids ages 3 to 12, and children under 3 are always free.
I love the zoo, Mom. Can we go again tomorrow?
And then with that, we paired all of that with some really fun billboards with photos from the kids' photo shoots, and obviously the animal motifs that you see. The white background really made these pop out when you're driving down the road compared to all of the other billboards. So we were really excited about these and got a lot of great feedback from the community that we're also excited to see them. And then we went into phase 2. So now we were focusing on the ways that the zoo loves our community and the kids and the children and the families that visit. So we installed a chalkboard that was interactive. We also brought out merchandise so people could wear the logos around town. And we created a children's book that I'll talk about a little later. The chalkboard was installed in 2018, and it's been pretty popular since then. It asks our guests to tell us why they love the zoo and how they can help conserve animals. So it was a great tool to see what people were learning on their visit, and heartwarming for our staff to see some of the really positive comments. And it has been quite popular. This is located in our front entry plaza right by our gift shop. So it did take supervision. So our gift shop attendants would come out and make sure there weren't any inappropriate comments on the chalkboard, and then we would clean it periodically so there is space for people to add their notes as well. This is still up. And we plan to use it in the future. It's closed right now because it's a high contact point, but a lot of guests really like this chalkboard installation. And then we introduced some merchandise that people could buy at the gift shop. So we had adult and children t-shirts, which was a lot of fun to see around town as well. And we created a children's book that we printed, and it's for sale in our gift shop now. The children's book was an ABC book featuring our animals and photography of our animals. And then we paired it with art from local children. So a lot of the artists were children who were attending our community programs already, like our Falconers program and our Zoo in Your Neighborhood program. It was really fun to sit down as a staff and go through these and pick the best drawing to put in the book. And the children were really excited to see it in full printed form, which was really cool. the proceeds from this went right back into those free community programs. So by purchasing the book, you are also helping us provide those free programs to our community. And we did a hardcover print, and just recently, at the beginning of this year, we had a softcover print as well that's still being sold in our gift shop. And we're really happy with our results. This was a campaign that went over both of our busy seasons. So we had a lot of years to look at the numbers. Our Falconers program, it's designed to allow children and adults with special needs and unique challenges and their whole families to have a free educational experience at our zoo. So we hold monthly programs. It has been stopped for the past 6 months, but we're actually holding a small version of this this month, and we're really excited to see our Falconers families back again. So our attendance for these events increased by 165% from 2017 to 2019. We're really happy with that. And then the other program called Zoo in Your Neighborhood, we partnered with libraries and community centers all around our area, and we bring free educational programs to them. And then they also get a zoo pass that can be checked out kind of like a library book, and it provides free admission for the family that checked it out. We saw a 32% increase from 2018 to 2019 in this program. 2017 was the first year, so we didn't have a full year of programs to compare it to. And then we were really happy to see that we had a 25% increase in memberships from 2017 to 2019. And I'm sure all of you agree, Instagram is booming right now. And we saw a 128% increase in followers from 2017 to 2018, and that just keeps growing. And a 17% increase in our Facebook followers, which we're really happy about. We also, we did boost some of the social media posts, so that 60-second video that you guys watched, we boosted, we got 100,000 views on it. And for us, that was a great number that we were really happy with. So like I said, this was a group effort for our smaller team, and we're really happy with the community participation that came with it. Please don't hesitate, reach out if you have questions, or if you want to talk about small teams, I am there for that too. So thank you for coming to our presentation.
All right, next up, we have Katie Smith, Vice President of Marketing for Audubon Zoo, talking about Audubon Zoo Lions, The Roar Returns.
All right, well, hi everyone. Thanks for inviting me to the panel. I'm going to share some highlights from Audubon Zoo's Lion marketing campaign from last year. Let's see if I have control of the slides. Doesn't seem like I have control of the slide. Okay, here we go. All right, so in 2016, we received one of our largest individual gifts to build a new home for our lions at Audubon. It had been about 3 years since we cared for the lions at the zoo, and they were dearly missed by our community. And as some construction projects go, this one took a pretty long time to build. There were a little bit of hiccups along the way, so construction was longer than anticipated. 2019 arrives. It looks like we're nearing completion on this exhibit, but we did have some challenges. We reorganized our marketing department, and we also onboarded a new ad agency. We had been with the same creative agency for about 20 years, so this was a pretty big change for us. It was also a really busy year for us. We were hosting all of you wonderful folks at the annual conference in New Orleans, along with a highly debated tax renewal, several other new events and initiatives. Another big challenge was getting construction in time for our busy season. We needed to think of creative ways to build anticipation without actually having access to shoot the new habitat. We had a new pride of lions, and they were still adjusting to each other and the space. We have 3 females and 1 somewhat shy male lion named Arnold. We also had some pretty specific goals. We wanted to increase our overall attendance for the year by 5% with a stretch goal of 7%. We wanted to increase awareness of our conservation initiatives. We also wanted to recognize that donor and also cultivate for Africa Phase 2. And inspire actions to benefit the natural world. We not only targeted mothers of children 2 to 11 that are college educated with discretionary income, but we focused on something called backbone moms. To a backbone mom, being a good parent is their top priority. Providing experiences and adventure are far more important than possessions. I guess a good example of this would be, it's not about the car that you're driving to the zoo, or it's not about the car you're driving to something. It's about where you're going to with your children and what type of experiences you're giving your children. Our agency kind of explained it, looking at this campaign, as wanting to add spinach to the burger. We wanted to have something fun, yet with an understanding that the experience of visiting the lions at Audubon Zoo will be doing a world of good for their children. Seeing that we didn't have access to the exhibit to shoot the commercial, we had to think creatively, so we partnered with our friends at the SPCA.
For too long, the king of the jungle has been away from New Orleans, and we've had to make do with cute but inadequate alternatives on the internet. Now, the pride is back at Audubon Zoo with a new habitat that's part of a worldwide program saving lions from extinction, so future generations will share the planet with the king of the jungle. The real king of the jungle. Meet the pride at Audubon Zoo.
So the partnership was great. It garnered a ton of national media attention, and it also aligned ourselves with another organization doing a world of good for cats and dogs across the city. We offered complimentary admission during the campaign for everyone who adopted a cat from the SPCA during that time. And then here's just some examples of our digital ads. We use the roar returns quite a bit. Our zoo is located in historic uptown New Orleans neighborhood. Many of the neighbors remember hearing the roar of the lions in the past. So we kind of leaned into that nostalgia, and All Hail Arnold is a Mardi Gras nod to King Rex. So this was a very local feeling campaign. We did some tourist outreach. That would be more like seen in our outdoor downtown. So we had our streetcar running with our outdoor, along with bus shelters downtown and billboards. This is our radio piece.
Mommy, what was that?
That's the new lion habitat here at Audubon Zoo.
Why?
Well, they live here at the zoo now, so the zoo can help protect them and other lions all over the world.
Why?
Because lions are a vulnerable species.
Why?
It's complicated.
Why?
Oh, look, there are the new lions now.
Wow!
Turn their whys into wows at the lion habitat at Audubon Zoo. Get your tickets at audubonzoo.com/lions.
So I guess that was like more of that spinach in the burger type messaging. Okay, so it's opening day. Literally the paint was drying on some of the exhibit items, and we were ready to open. We opened up an hour early to welcome our members, and we had an opening day presentation. I'll just show you a bit of it's just the general B-roll from the video to get an idea of some of the programming the marketing team put together. We partnered with Ashe Cultural Arts Center to welcome guests to the new habitat. And we had a ribbon cutting, crafts, and a roar reel, which we'll see in a little bit.
I need to ask Jenna. I know she was trying to get in
So you're going to say what I say. You'll be speaking Yoruba. And the words are Funga Alafia Ashe Ashe. Funga Alafia Ashe Ashe. Wish you peace. Pray that you have safe travels through the lion exhibit. Ashe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That at the end was our roar reel, and so we had a lot of kids come up and give their strongest roars, and so we compiled that into one edited video and sent it to our members after that day, just thanking them for coming to visit, and it was a big hit. All right, so following opening, we launched the second phase of our campaign. We were really fortunate that The Lion King debuted in theaters around the same time as our exhibit opening. So we partnered with Disney and the Lion Recovery Fund, and we were able to share our commercial in local theater pre-roll and had other opportunities in lobbies. We were also able to target ticket purchasers for the film through digital ads. So you can see some of the copy here. You saw the movie, now see the magic. Lions now playing at Audubon Zoo. We had some fun with copying those targets on digital ads. Also, something to note is that these ads all went back to a landing page that was set up for ticket conversion, but we also had conservation messaging and actions on that page that we were monitoring and wanted to make sure we were tracking those. And those are actually part of the analytics in our campaign. And then we have the standee on the left, which was really cute that people could take their photos in. Again, having the message of, not just that the lion exhibit is open, but we're here to protect the pride. Sorry, my computer is a little slow moving the slide. There you go. All right, so media results. In paid, we actually had a pretty limited budget for this campaign. As you can see, it was about $60,000 in paid placement. We leveraged a lot of PR in this campaign, but for paid, we focused on radio, which we have a lot of trade radio, so that didn't necessarily factor into this cost. We did outdoor. We used Stack Adapt for digital ads. We did some paid Facebook, paid Twitter. The biggest expense was the theater partnership. But earned media was really where we were focusing a lot of our efforts. Since this was such a local campaign, such a community campaign, we had a lot of interest in our media, in the news. So, and since construction took 3 years, it just built up so much anticipation that there was a lot of interest. And our kittens campaign was picked up nationally by the news, and it went pretty viral, which is great. I mean, it's always a good win to take something that was in the paid funnel and then move it into the earned funnel, because you not only get added exposure, but it adds a level of authenticity. So we were really happy about kittens doing so well by news media nationally and on social media. And then we had our owned outlets, which is our website. We had a great landing page telling the story of each lion, our conservation mission, and then our email marketing campaign. All right, so some of the results. We did see a 5.6 attendance bump from the year before. We had Tropical Storm Barry, which caused us to be closed for a week, and I know we all know the pains to our bottom lines when we're closed for a week. So kind of took a look at what our average was for the past 5 years during that week and put that attendance back in. And if Barry had not hit, we probably would have hit that 7% stretch goal for the year. And then when the campaign was running, we did see a 12% lift, which is great. So great campaign. My takeaway from this is it's all about the partnerships. We didn't have to spend a lot because we worked with a lot of great partners on this. And the most rewarding part of the campaign came this past spring. Thanks so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions in the chat or at the end of the presentation.
All right, thank you, Katie. And moving right along here, Jenny Cook from Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is up next to talk about reconnecting with nature.
I didn't realize I was going to have to follow cute lion cubs, man. Let's see here. Yep, okay. So, hello, my name is Jenny Cook and I'm the marketing director at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. And I am going to talk to you about our Reconnect with Nature campaign, which ran in 2019. So, at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, which I'm sure is the case for a lot of you, conservation is a big part of our messaging. And it had been a focus of our campaigns for several years. But we were also wanting to kind of focus on the part of our mission that talks about providing a place where families can spend time together in the outdoors. So we set out to marry those two focuses to specifically our local audience. Our numbers were up over the previous years, but there was a noticeable decline in our local guests. So we really wanted to remind people of what they had in their own backyard, and I forgot to advance my slide. Let me catch up here. Come on, slides. There we go. So our goals and objectives for the campaign, we wanted to see a 10% increase in attendance over the previous year. And we also wanted to increase awareness of our conservation efforts and the impact that our guests and members were having on those efforts, as reported on our guest intercept survey. So for the creative objective, we wanted to bring, sorry, there's quite a lag here. So we wanted to bring our conservation efforts to the forefront of the campaign and help position Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in a new way among our target audiences. Our creative campaign focused on helping the community understand what the zoo stands for and how that manifests through the important work we do both locally and globally. We were positioning Cheyenne Mountain Zoo as a place for gathering with loved ones, best-in-class animal care, and conservation advocacy. Our target market, primarily, our primary target market lives in the Colorado Springs DMA and the surrounding Pikes Peak region. And we typically kind of lump them into 3 groups for targeting. So the first one is Colorado families. Those are primarily women aged 25 to 54 who have children under the age of 12. They're always looking for new fun family experiences to enjoy with their kids, and they're most likely to visit the zoo multiple times during the season. Colorado couples is kind of a newer target for us. Those are those folks, adults aged 25 to 54, or 25 to 64 actually, with no young children. We're really targeting those they're looking for unique experiences to experience together, and they're more likely to attend some of our special events that are really targeted towards those adults. And our current visitors who have visited within the past 12 months. We want to reinforce our awareness of conservation efforts with them and drive repeat business. So the big idea, or kind of our positioning statement, was for this campaign, Cheyenne Mountain Zoo isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. And I'll go ahead and read the full kind of positioning statement for you. There was and is an undeniable truth to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. When you're here, you experience a feeling that ties you closer to our natural world and the loved ones you attend with. From the mountainside location to the natural welfare of the animals to the driving force of animal conservation around every corner, you leave with a renewed appreciation for our planet. This essence was the foundation for everything we created, and some might call it a big idea. To us, it's just the truth. So that's kind of how we framed it at going into the creative process. This concept was particularly meant to resonate with our locals. We wanted to make sure they weren't taking for granted the natural splendor all around them, as people do from time to time. And we wanted to remind residents of Colorado Springs and the region to slow down and remember how important connecting with nature really is. We wanted to make sure that they were making memories with their family, being inspired by nature, and becoming more actively involved with the environment and social change. And we wanted to remind them that Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is a good place to do that. So the creative execution was anchored by a 60-second TV spot. All of the other campaign assets were taken from the spot, so using stills and clips from the hero spot to develop other campaign assets, including billboards, digital banners, and paid social, to bring it all to life and make it cohesive. To further kind of embed the family aspect into this spot, all the talent in the spot were zoo family. It was all staff members, friends and family of staff members. So it really brought home that family feeling for us. So let's take a look at some of the execution.
Nature is all around us. It's sometimes easy to forget in our day-to-day hustle, but it's everywhere. And keeping our connection to it alive is why Cheyenne Mountain Zoo exists. With every first gaze, and every first date, with every new memory, and every new best friend, with every act of consciousness towards each other, towards our fellow creatures, and towards the natural world overall, making a difference one quarter at a time.
then the radio, the radio kind of mimicked.
Nature is all around us. Nature surrounds us. It can be easy to forget in our day-to-day hustle, but it's everywhere. And keeping our connection to it alive is why Cheyenne Mountain Zoo exists. With every new friendship and every new memory, with every instance of wonder and every chance to feel like a kid again, with every act of consciousness towards each other, towards our fellow creatures, and towards the natural world overall. Making a difference, one step at a time, one quarter at a time, one action at a time, in whatever form it comes in, whether you're right here at home or halfway around the world. Cheyenne Mountain Zoo isn't just a place, it's a mindset that reconnects you to this big, beautiful world. Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, way beyond watching. Sponsored by Children's Hospital Colorado and your Colorado Springs Toyota dealers. There's a place right in your backyard where the natural world is waiting for you. Where car horns and meeting notices take a back seat to new friends and new memories. Where you can feed a giraffe, stroll with a wallaby, and lock eyes with an African lion all in one afternoon. Right above you on a mountain, there's a place to reconnect with nature all year long. Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, way beyond watching. Join us for Boo at the Zoo this Halloween at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. Dress your little ones up and trick-or-treat on a mountain with all candy made from sustainable palm oil to help protect wild orangutans. Festivities run evenings the last 2 weekends of October and, of course, on Halloween night. Nights may sell out early, so get your tickets in advance at cmzoo.org for $5 off the gate price. Sponsored by Children's Hospital Colorado, Colorado Springs Pediatric Dentistry, Les Schwab Tire Centers, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, T. Rowe Price, and Toyota.
And then a peek at some of the billboards, some of the digital. So all of those stills were captured from the TV spot. And the print that went along with that. So the media strategy, the TV had heavy up on the 60s. Sorry. Go backwards. So the media strategy, heavy on the broadcast TV 60s, and then we had a shorter 30-second spot that was used as a reinforcer to stretch the budget. We did terrestrial radio, which was hardworking. You saw the combination of how the brand messaging was combined with the event promotion for part of the time. We chose high impact billboard locations, digital channels, including over-the-top video, paid social media, and then geofence display banners to reach active Coloradans and visitors from other areas when they were visiting other attractions or events that were happening in the area. And then here's a quick peek at the budget. I'm not gonna read all those numbers because that's super boring. Leave those up for a second. And then on to the results. So we did see, and obviously these, we didn't do a full fiscal year comparison because obviously we all know what happened this spring. Our fiscal year runs May through April. So we left out March when we had to close, and then April, obviously we were closed. But taking those numbers out and comparing the same time period for May 2019 to February 2020, we did see a 10.6% increase in attendance for that time period, and that was a new record. We also saw, as kind of not a stated goal, but we were trying to help with the visitation in our local community. We did see a 16% increase in attendance for Colorado Springs residents and a 15% increase in attendance for Pikes Peak region residents. We also wanted to try to make sure that we were using a flighting approach to ensure that we were stretching our season as much as possible and spreading those attendance increases out so they weren't causing us problems of overcrowding during our peak season, but actually allowed for steady attendance throughout the shoulder season as well. So kind of spreading that out so it didn't create problems for us. And on the conservation awareness side of the results, we did see some positive gains in those areas as well. This was according to, I don't know about you guys, but that's super fuzzy for me. But we do a every 2 years guest intercept survey. So we were able to kind of track those perceptions of our guests that are coming here. And we did see increases about the awareness that $100,000 of our membership revenue goes to conservation efforts. So it was 22%, went up to 36.5%. Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is a trusted source of information about conservation that went from an already high 80% to 87%. And Cheyenne Mountain Zoo effectively communicates information about conservation, went from 76% to 82.5%. So we're very pleased with that. And that's all I have for you. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Jenny. And we have one more presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So go ahead and submit those questions, and we'll be glad to stick around and answer those. And so finally, we have Greg Haney from the Oklahoma City Zoo, and he is going to talk about Sip and Stroll that they did this summer in response to COVID.
Yeah, so unlike the other presentations in which you had perhaps a lot more time and some money to be able to think strategically about how to bring people to the zoo, we had to do something pretty quick and on the fly with a very limited amount of money to bring in people to the zoo, but also keep the momentum of the zoo and our operations going. So we were very fortunate. Unlike many other zoos, we were only closed for about 51 days. So we closed on March 13th and we reopened I think May 4th. So as part of that momentum that we have, it's our busiest time of year, a lot of the programs that we had planned for the spring and the summer were completely derailed, and a lot of our marketing dollars were gone. So one of the programs that we had executed last year that we wanted to continue was an adult event only that was in the evenings. So usually we are open from 9 to 5, but during the evenings, we could appeal to a brand new audience. And that's something that we've been really keen on developing. So we had something last year, what we call date night. So it is what it sounds like. It's only for adults 21 and up. It was 1 day a week, and it was a very curated experience. Not only did you get to experience the entire zoo in its full glory with all the rides and feeding experiences available to the adults, but we also had additional experiences like wine tastings and dance lessons and karaoke. So it was a real full sort of experience to reintroduce an audience that hadn't been to the zoo in a long time. So similar to your zoo, probably you have a lot of kids come to the zoo, and then you don't have a lot of teens and young adults coming, but they come back when they have kids. So you have a lot of adults. We wanted to fill that trough with this event. So with COVID, we could not do date nights in the full glory of everything that the zoo could offer. So we had to pivot a little bit, and we watered it down, pardon the pun, a drinking analogy. We did something called Sip and Stroll, and it sounds pretty didactic. You had a chance to stroll the zoo and also grab your favorite drink to sip on. So the strategy and the tactic was pretty simple, aiming at adults to experience the zoo with a drink in hand. Let's see if I can scroll down. Okay, here we go. We only did it 1 day a week. It was Thursdays from 6 to 10. It gave us about an hour to pivot in the zoo to reset it with some bars and some banners throughout the park, some directional signage. We capped the attendance. So last year for date nights, we capped it at about 3,000 people. We almost sold out for each of those nights at that limit. But for this event, we really wanted to ensure social distancing, which was never going to be an issue because it is a very large park. It's over 100 acres. So we capped it at 900. For the entry, we had time ticketing. Everything was online. So we capped it at 100 guests every 15 minutes. So that would get us to potentially 900 per night. Not to spoil it, but we never got to 900 for any of these events. We averaged about 700 guests coming in to the zoo each night. But what was really surprising for us is that unlike years past where we really made this an event that was very curated with a lot of activities, we kept this super simple. None of the buildings were open. None of the rides were operating. We did not have any of the animal feedings available or the presentations. And in some cases, the animals were not even on view. And what we were surprised with is how little people cared. So the challenge there, we'll get to in a second, is how do we deliver the mission of the zoo in such an environment? So more information than you wanted to know, but I think you probably appreciate this. The price for this experience was actually a premium price. The typical admission, general admission for an adult is $12 during the daytime. We increased it by $5. So it's $17 just to get in if you're over the age of 21. If you want, we would sell you a drink passport, which allowed you to get 6 unique 5-ounce samples from the 6 different full bars in the zoo. And each one is themed on a conservation program that the zoo supported. So that was an opportunity to deliver the mission. But again, that $24 passport was optional. So we had a lot of people come into the zoo and never even buy a drink. They just wanted access to the zoo in the evenings without kids, which was an eye-opener for us. In terms of the admission, again, we mentioned this before, 100 people per 15 minutes. We never exceeded it. We had a lot of people come in early and they simply had to wait outside, and we had some music for them. They did not mind waiting, which was also pretty interesting for us. For the guests, masks were strongly encouraged when you're in the outdoor areas, but they were not required. So again, it's a drinking event, so a lot of people will have the masks on and they brought their own straws, or they would pull down the masks to have the drink. That was never really an issue. Timed entry was not an issue. It's the social distancing, and I think everybody who's open has experienced this. As much as you put out signage and as you communicate in advance and you have the PA reminding you to stay 6 feet apart, people are so excited by the zoo that they will kind of infringe on that 6-foot zone. So that was something that was a bit of a challenge for us, but we did have reminders everywhere. Hand sanitizer was also made available, and all of our indoor buildings were closed. And we didn't have a lot of people complain about that. For our staff, we all wore masks. Food servers wore masks and gloves. The bars had ample space between the server and the guest. We did not create, although we thought about it, some sort of ice luge to deliver the drinks. We didn't have the time or the budget, and that would be a little bit of a nightmare. It was very hot on some nights, so that's probably the best thing that we did not do. We didn't have any animal engagements or presentations, but we did offer things like you could buy a conservation wristband, or we had the Zoo Key program where you can unlock some messages throughout the zoo with the recycled plastic novelty key. So that was delivering another zoo experience to people otherwise who wouldn't have had the chance. Strolling. So again, the whole zoo was open. We didn't give them a very curated, narrated path. It was open for them to explore. Everything on the right side of the map that's grayed out was closed. It was closed specifically because it's just harder to monitor that many people in the park. 900 people in the park for that footprint is huge. It's almost like you had the zoo to yourself, which was part of the appeal for a lot of the adults that we didn't really realize. They would have paid the premium just to have that sort of exclusive experience. So that's something that we kind of noted for the future. You could walk and drink at the same time. There were bars throughout the zoo. We won't go into all of them, but we called them watering holes, and each one was themed with a conservation program. There's a banner in the back that you can have a selfie taken, and then you can learn a little bit more about what the zoo is doing for wildlife here at home as well as around the world. So Wheel and Wiley is a local beer, and we talked a little bit about our conservation program with horned frogs. We also talked about our partnership with the Diane Fossey Grillo Fund. We also talked about the International Rhino Foundation. And again, the drinks were all themed with rhinos. Tangent, going back to the top left, we had sponsors for this. Will Wiley is a local beer company. 1800 Tequila and Kraken Rum were also very excited to be a part of this. And Bubbly, which is a division of Pepsi, which makes sparkling water, was happy to be positioning their brand as a mixer in a new test case scenario for them. They had not done these sort of events before. Bar number 4, our programs with tiger conservation. Also, our partnerships with, it's cut off, I'm blanking, in Guatemala, that one. That was actually the best drink, not that I tried it on the job. And the last one was with Galapagos tortoises. So again, it gave people a chance to go over to each of the bars. None of the bars at any time were overwhelmingly packed. If there was a little bit of line, people were spaced out. They got to connect with a brand ambassador who could explain a little bit more about what the zoo is doing here and abroad with our conservation programs, and also sell conservation wristbands and ask for donations, which generated a lot of money through these events. But going back to the sponsorship, which I think was really eye-opening for us, you would think that just as our budgets were cut short because of the limited access to the zoo, that everybody's marketing budget was cut. Not so with alcohol. So if you weren't aware, alcohol is doing very well this year during the shutdown of the pandemic. You might know firsthand. But as part of that, there is a budget that these brands must spend to activate their brands in a local market. All that money that would usually go to a restaurant promotion or a wine sampling or a bar promotion, they have not been able to spend because all of those bars and restaurants are closed. So we were able to just position the zoo through this experience as an outlet for them to spend their money. And so we were able to get some significant sponsorship dollars just through luck. But I think that we've gotten our foot in the door for future relationships going forward. So that was kind of free money. In terms of sponsorship opportunity and how we promoted this event, that was another big catch for us. We didn't have a lot of money to spend on marketing the event. So we really just preached to the choir. So our email database of 72,000 emails, our Facebook program, Facebook platform, and Instagram. We posted on those platforms and boosted it each week. We never spent in total for the summer more than $3,000 on paid media to boost it. That way we can be able to better promote the event without doing a big TV campaign, which might actually not backfire, but give us some additional scrutiny for having a drinking event for adults when bars and restaurants were being scrutinized. In terms of sponsor activations, what was appealing to them is to get the branding, to have the zoo brand ambassadors wear flair, which none of them actually provided flair for us to wear, which was fine. Branded path markers as well, and promotional inclusion. So we included their brands in the locked up logo on all of our front-facing messaging. So when this was all done, and each week we did a survey for the attendees, because it was all online ticketing, we could actually capture that information and document how they were doing. The overall satisfaction was great. So 83% qualified this as they were satisfied or very satisfied, which was awesome. In terms of their safety, 92% felt safe or very safe. The biggest concern we had, which matched our daytime visitors, was masks and social distancing. They thought that we could be a little bit more strong in our messaging of that, but they also acknowledged it's kind of hard for us to control. What was a big insight for us, and this was really what was great, we intended with this audience to bring them back to the zoo, and we knew that they had not been in a long time, and the results showed that 72% had not come to the zoo in more than 2 years. And for many of them, they had never been to the zoo. So this was a way of kind of reacquainting them in a new light, literally, to see what we were about. And were they likely to return? This was great. 88% were very likely to return. This was also an opportunity for us to promote our membership programs, but not heavily sell it or force it. So we did have a lot of people buy memberships and ask for the information upon exiting. So we were very happy with that. What is this last one? 90%. The big insight to this is that what sold them on the event was really the fact that it's for adults only. So I don't know if the backbone moms that were referenced earlier really just wanted to get away from the kids with a glass of Chardonnay. I'm sure that was the case. We had a lot of ladies come out with their girlfriends. So this was an opportunity that we saw as a green light for future events, that we can do more 21 up events to attract this audience who had to come to the zoo and make some money, but still deliver the mission for the zoo. So in the results, over the 12 events we had, 7,500 people come to the zoo. We netted over 160,000 in revenue at a time in which we were thinking that we were going to lose that money from date nights. We had positive word of mouth. So each week, news of this event continued to grow and ticket sales increased as well. And we had a brand new audience come to the zoo. So our big takeaway from this is that we definitely want to do this going forward. And that's it.
Thank you, Greg. So I guess now is the time of the session when we can take some questions, and I will bring up the questions and ask them, and our panelists can respond. Okay, so the first one is to Katie with Potter Park Zoo. This is an awesome campaign, Katie. My question is, what type of production budget were you working with? I would consider the photography, costume design, video production as part of the budget. Were there any aspects that were donated or given in kind?
So yeah, this was a really unique opportunity for us to have a new marketing and design firm approach us. So a lot of what they did for us was donated to the zoo, to the Zoo Society technically. So most of the design work we were not charged for, but things like the costume designs, the photography with the local photographer, those were built into our budget. In total, we spent a little under $48,000, and a large majority of that came from the paid media. So for us, that was a little bit on social, TV, radio, and billboards. So for us, that's quite a bit to spend on marketing, and we did get to break that up over 2 years worth of marketing budget, which helped us actually have that full campaign.
I believe this question is also to you, Katie. They want to hear what the budget for the campaign was.
We kind of went into it, and we were all very open since we were working with the brand new firm. And, we would adjust our plan based on what funds we had available. So our total budget for marketing is about $60,000 a year for our zoo. So we knew we couldn't go over that. And when we finished the campaign in total, we ended up spending about $48,000. That was split in some ways between those 2 different years.
All right. Kate is asking, all of these campaigns are awesome. Curious how the creative brainstorming process happens for you all. Is it usually a directive from management when they have a certain goal they want marketing to achieve, or does marketing come up with a full campaign idea and present to management, or is it a team effort with the help of an agency? Who wants to take that one first?
I can go first. So this particular campaign, our president and CEO was very involved in. It was a kind of a personal passion project for him, as some of our previous campaigns have been. For something like what we did this year to promote our new exhibit, Water's Edge Africa, it was less so. He had definitely had input, but not as much upfront in terms of kind of framing the entire process. So it really depends from year to year and what the messaging is for that year and what the priorities are for our president.
Anyone else want to
Yeah, so I didn't present any sort of overarching campaign for the Oklahoma City Zoo. And usually, I think historically we come up with one big campaign, and that's the campaign for the season that starts with spring break and goes through the summer. In those off years, like this one, and I think the year before that, we didn't have a big campaign. We didn't have a big habitat to promote that's brand new. So there was an opportunity to promote these one-off smaller events. So something that could be a week long or a single night or Haunt the Zoo. What we've tried to do here, it's not really coming from our executive director. The overarching goal is just how do you drive attendance and revenues, and we kind of open it up to the whole zoo. So we kind of created an environment where the best idea wins, and a really good example of that is, given coronavirus, our state fair was canceled, so now we're trying to pivot to figure out how do we bring in the fair food trucks into the zoo and attract a whole new audience driven by food into the zoo, which they haven't been to. So we're exploring that next weekend, actually Thursday the 24th through the 27th. So that's a case in which marketing, or really everybody's driving the idea behind a campaign.
All right, well, we'll move on to the next one, and this one is for Katie Smith with Audubon. Did you notice any guest engagement changes after these campaigns? For example, did more people spend time with the lions after the campaign was over?
Well, we didn't have lions for 3 years before. So yeah, absolutely. People were very interested in the lions. I think something I've seen now at the zoo, we have our social media distance monitor stands throughout the zoo, and the Audubon team is all kind of taking shifts on those. So during my shift, the biggest question is always, where are the lions, right? And that is one of the top questions, the top animal folks are going to try and look for is our lions. So just that anecdotal info, we don't have any of our guest research from this year. We've kind of paused that. So just seeing the response on social media and then guest questions at the zoo, I'd say guests are highly engaged with the lions and are curious about them.
All right. Another question, and this one is for everyone. So we'll start. Let's go with the order that you presented. So Katie, you're up first. How long did you take to plan each campaign before launching your first spot ad?
That's a good question and kind of complicated, I think, for our campaign, because technically our campaign probably started when we started looking for volunteers to be models. So the process between when we started asking people to post pictures to be a model and to the premiere was maybe a month or two. And then before that, we were in talks with the marketing and design firm for maybe a month or two. So to span before our total actual product came out, maybe 3 to 4 months. But again, kind of complicated in our situation, because I would call the beginning of our campaign that call for models, but there was a gap before that media was put out when it was finished.
Great, Katie.
So I guess it would go in phases. We did a lot of planning during the initial announcement, and that was I'd say the beginning of it was recognition for the donor. As I said during the presentation, we had a new creative agency, so they started in January. It was kind of like the honeymoon period. We had to get through that. So the actual media planning and creative was really quick. I think that was around a month, if that. We found those kittens quick from the SPCA and got those little manes around them, which was an experience within itself. So we were kind of scrambling, to be honest, getting the media campaign together, just because the exhibit took longer than expected, so we couldn't get that imagery, and we had the new agency. So to answer the actual marketing campaign, I'd say it was about a month of planning.
For ours, we had a pretty long lead time for this one, actually. We kind of had concepted it over a year prior, and we knew that we had to, since we knew all the filming was going to happen on grounds, we wanted to make sure we got footage in the can when the zoo was looking its best, which is obviously not over the winter. So we actually filmed late summer or early fall, if I remember right, the year prior to when it launched in the spring. So normally it's not that long of a lead time for us for a branding campaign, but this one was a little longer.
I'm guessing Greg had a little bit less time than the rest of everyone.
Yeah, for us it was, we put it all together in 2 weeks.
All right, we have one more question here. If you have any more, go ahead and get them submitted, but this again is open-ended, so maybe Greg, we'll start with you this time and then we can go backwards through the list. When you have a season-long marketing campaign, what percentage of your marketing budget is used for that campaign versus promoting events, programming, etc.?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm just going to ballpark it. So say you, of the pie of 100%, if you have one major campaign, we would allocate perhaps 60% to that, with maybe 5 to 10% for creative production to support that major initiative. And then the rest goes to individual promotions. One of the biggest challenges that we face, and I'm sure everybody else has too, is regardless of how well intended and detailed your marketing budget is, you have shit pop up and you had no idea that this was going to happen, and then where's the money coming from? So you have to steal from a program that you originally thought. So it's almost like a foolish sandcastle we build every year, but we do it. So it's a crapshoot.
I'm going to punt on this one. I don't think I can even guess without looking at numbers. Sorry.
I'd say around the same as Greg, around 60, 65, maybe even 70. We have such a tourism-driven market, so that's a bulk of our spend is usually that spring, summer campaign. That Lions campaign was not a tourism campaign, so that wouldn't be that big number. But yeah, probably around 65 to 70 is aimed towards a big tourism push. And then the rest would be for events or exhibits like Lions and things like that.
For us, which I'm sure some smaller zoos can agree with, we don't necessarily do big marketing campaigns every year. Actually, we haven't, since I've been there, we haven't done, big marketing campaigns. If anything, I call ours like social media campaigns, where we just do the work in-house, and maybe occasionally we boost it on social. So the majority of our marketing budget usually goes to events. And if we have specific art or a really great opportunity for billboards, maybe we'll have a billboard. So when this campaign happened with the Kids Love the Zoo, it was a year that we had to adjust a lot because a lot of our budget went towards that campaign. So normally we might do radio ads and social media for our Boo at the Zoo event. This last year, instead, we put a little more money into social, and we used what we would normally spend on radio on the Kids Love the Zoo campaign. So we kind of had to move everything around to make sure it worked within our budget. And like Greg says, you have a plan, but with our zoo, we have a very loose plan because we never know what's going to happen. We just did a website rebuild a few years ago, and most of our budget went to that. So our budget goes to where it has to go. So yeah, a little different situation for us, but it was a lot of moving funds around to make this campaign happen with those paid media spots.
Okay, this question could possibly apply, so whoever has an answer can chime in here. Have you ever tried reciprocal signage at other local attractions you would deem compatible with your attendees or audience?
I can jump in with an easy answer. We have an aquarium downtown, we have a zoo uptown, we have a nature center in New Orleans East, so we'll do reciprocal signage within our Audubon Nature Institute properties, which is super great. We get to cross-promote that way, but we haven't, that I'm aware of, done anything with any other organization outside of Audubon's.
Yeah, we don't have any any sort of existing relationship that's ongoing with other cultural institutions, but we will occasionally do a 1 week push, depending on what that campaign might be. A really good example is we work with a local art museum and we swapped Facebook pages and social media accounts. So we posted all the animals that were found in the museum and they posted all the artwork that was in the zoo. It was interesting. They benefited more from it than we did because we had a larger audience, but it was fun.
All right, well, that appears to be all the questions. I think maybe in a minute, I'm going to give you guys a minute here to think about maybe a final statement. But before I turn it over for a final statement from everyone, I am going to just do a promotion for a coffee roundtable tomorrow. Kate Hilliard from the LA Zoo is going to do a coffee roundtable on the topic of how to submit for a Best of Marketing award. All these presentations, or the first three, I should say, were submitted for that, and we would like to see the number of submissions grow next year. And so all these were excellent and very well done, but Kate is going to do that so we get some more submissions next year. And that's at 2:45 Eastern tomorrow. So I hope you all will join Kate for that. Any final thoughts from any of you? It appears we had one more question come in. Maybe we'll answer that as our final one. I am curious how long each group spent collecting information to prepare for their upcoming Marketing Excellence Award application.
I didn't submit.
Yeah.
For me, I would say maybe a couple of weeks. It was nice because we have been doing a lot of preparation of getting numbers. At a small zoo, we don't have those big people who can come in and help us with that. So as a team, we've been trying really hard to get our numbers in so I can make an annual report every year. So it has been easier with that. If I didn't have that happening, it would probably take me a while to get all the numbers needed for that application. But you should do it, especially if you're a small zoo. It's really nice to sit down and really look at those numbers of what you accomplished with a campaign, which I know you can't always do unless you have a driver to do it. So
yeah, I'd say it's somewhat time consuming, but I think it's worthwhile. If you're working with an agency, you can kind of ask them for their help as well. You can go back to some of those planning documents and it'll pull a lot of stuff from, those brainstorming sessions or, the meeting notes that come out of those initial planning sessions. A lot of that is relevant to putting your application in. So if, use those resources, try not to reinvent the wheel, and it's not too bad.
Yeah, ours didn't take too long. I was lucky that we have a writer who compiled all the info for us. It was a few days, but we had been saving a lot of that information to show the donor. So I think it's just useful when you're planning a campaign, just to start organizing things in the way that you'd like to show a donor the results, along with applying for a marketing award or something along those lines.
All right, so I guess one more opportunity to wrap up the session, any of you, if you have any final thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up.
None here.
None here. Okay, well, thanks for joining us. I hope you learned something. I did. I thought all of these presentations were excellent, and always like to learn what other people are doing in the marketing world. And so I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.